All right, guys, we are live. Let's see if the camera can catch up for a second. Just had to turn down frame rate because it was glitching. And we're good. Chat, let me know if the camera smooths out here in a second. Yes, there we go. It is lagging ever so slightly. Usually takes a second to get it flowing. I just want to make sure it doesn't interrupt anybody's intros. A Life in HD, can you hear? Oh wait, how did you guys' cameras get switched? That's interesting. Don't worry, chat. Okay, everybody's good, and looks like it is clearing up a little bit. Yes, the names are switched. I know. That happens occasionally. Zoom. All right, guys. So today we are going to be, yes, I know, chat. We're going to be debating should America support the U.S. or Iran government, and I believe is it specifically in this conflict we're in, right, guys?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so we're going to do 5-minute openings. And then we'll get into it.
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes. You don't have to use all 10 minutes or all 5 minutes if you want to concede your time. And then 60-minute open dialogue and 45-minute audience Q&A. So you guys can get your super chats in for that. And I will ask the debaters here. We also are doing DebateCon 8 in July. You guys can do that with us. Get a ticket in the link below. Got some heavy hitters. And then last thing I'll ask is you guys just like, share, and subscribe if you aren't already. And we're going to get right into it. The pro side here, Daniel, you want to go ahead and kick it off? I'll start your time the moment you start talking.
All right. Did Nick want to go first?
Oh, you guys are both pro something there. So yeah, if Nick, if you want to go first, go ahead.
No, it's fine. He can go first. That's what James asked me yesterday, and I said he can, but if he doesn't want to, I can. It's up to
Sure, go ahead.
It's up to him. Okay.
All right, starting the time. If it's lagging, guys, it'll clear up here in just a second.
So look, okay. So I want to start by just grounding this conversation in reality, because what you're probably going to hear tonight, just what I hear from a lot of pro-IRGC people tend to argue, is a very sweeping and conspiratorial narrative about the United States, Israel, and Iran. Now, the prompt is, should the Americans should support the U.S. government or Iran? I mean, of course, it should always be America first if you're an American, so you should support the U.S. government. Sometimes support can mean different things, and what that means to you, it depends on the individual. But of course, we should support the U.S. government over a foreign government, the IRGC. So I'd be interested to hear what my opponent has to say on why we should go away from that and actually support the IRGC. With that, I want to thank the Modern Day Debates and also my opponent, Daniel, for being here and just looking forward to the debate. So anyways, it sounds compelling at first, the conspiratorial knowledge and outright attitudes, right? But it's this idea that everything is secretly coordinated, that Israel's behind protests. I've heard a lot that the U.S. is just a puppet. Regime collapse is the real goal, with the intent to benefit only Israel and no one else, and it's against American interests and against everyone but Israel's interests, and that Iran is basically just a victim of outside manipulation. But the problem is when you actually slow it down and test each claim, it doesn't hold up. And before I even get into specifics, I just want to be very clear about something foundational. Regardless of where you stand on this specific conflict, we should be against the IRGC and regimes like it on principle. Any Islamist regime that is openly anti-Western, which is every Islamist regime, that actively works to subvert Western societies, that promotes extremism and repression, that's not something we should be neutral about. Islamism as a whole is a culture that produces instability, not peace. And it's a culture of accepted pedophilia that lacks all humanism, individualism, and common sense. So even outside of this specific war, there is a broader moral clarity here. So to get ahead of a few things right off the bat, First, you're probably going to hear that Israel and the United States are trying to turn Iran into a collapsed state to benefit only Israel, like balkanization. But that doesn't really make a strategic sense. A collapsed Iran, 80 plus million, actually 92 million people, I believe, massive geography that creates chaos, militias, and terrorism that would directly threaten the security of Israel itself. And beyond that, it's in every normal person's interest, maybe not Islamist, but normal person's interest, not to see a country collapse into disorder, but to see the rightful people, in this case of Iran, eventually reclaim their country in a stable and legitimate way. Now, that might not be an official goal of war. However, that is something that every normal person desires to see, more like what existed before 1979, not endless fragmentation, because again, that would be a security threat to the state of Israel anyways. What you actually see consistently across Republican administrations, Democrat administrations, European governments, international institutions like the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is concern about one thing: nuclear capability and the means to deliver it. Now, I have some experience in that as someone who's a nuclear engineer, and I served for about 12 years as that in the US Navy. That's why you had negotiations like the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly referred to as Obama's Iran deal, not invasions. If the goal was collapse, you wouldn't see diplomacy, you'd see something very different. Second, you're going to hear that the goalpost keeps changing, because I hear a lot of pro-IRGC people say, well, first they were talking about enrichment and now it's ballistic missiles. Why do they keep changing the goal? But that's basic military logic, something Daniel here I don't believe has. A nuclear weapon without a delivery system isn't a strategic threat. Missiles and enrichment go together. We know this. And we also have to be honest about the history here. The IAEA has confirmed that pre-2003, I think they did a report, I believe it was in 2015, but pre-2003 Iran was actively testing aspects of nuclear weapons development, neutron inhibitors, high explosive testing, etc. And to this day, we, and the IAEA admits this, don't fully know how far certain parts of that program went. So when you talk about ballistic missiles, you're talking about what could very realistically be the final step after enriching uranium to weapons grade levels, which is 90% plus. Generally, technically, you can go before that. That's what makes the idea of an imminent threat, as they put it, a lot closer, not further away, because enrichment from 60 to 90% is actually relatively quickly, depending on what they utilize. IR6 centrifuges, like they have been, they've even been developing IR8 plus centrifuges. So after that, it's just a matter of months if they have nothing. But we know they don't have nothing because of this pre-2003 findings. Third, you're probably going to hear that Israel is behind the protests inside of Iran because they want to have this weird belief that Islamists wouldn't just slaughter people and it must be the Jews' fault or Israel's fault. But Iran has had protests for years.
Yeah, 5 minutes, Nick. Just want to let you know.
Thank you. 2009, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2022, major nationwide unrest, unless we have this weird belief that Israel was the cause of all those as well. And these aren't random. They're tied to inflation, corruption, repression, and serious economic mismanagement. Their banking sector has been under severe strain, in some cases near collapse, largely due to internal corruption and bad governance, really. Israel didn't cause that. Israel didn't force the IRGC officials to be corrupt. So to say every protest is secretly orchestrated from the outside is basically ignoring the very real internal problems that millions of Iranians are reacting to. Fourth, there's this broader narrative that Israel is trying to dominate the entire Middle East and control everything. But again, that doesn't match reality. Israel is a relatively small country surrounded by major regional powers like Turkey, Iran in this case, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. And so I reject the dramatic emotional framing that we hear from pro-IRGC voices about Israel trying to just dominate everything. Instead, I think we'll get into this more during the debate, obviously, but the Middle East has consistently shown higher levels of stability, development, and yes, even moral progress when there are more Americas and Israels in the world influencing the region than there are IRGC style regimes exporting extremism and not really staying in their lane either as they export extremism across the region and across the world. Finally, I think that the most important point is there's a difference between being critical of the United States or Israeli policy, which is completely fair. Every individual is very much the same, and you should be critical of any government. And there's a difference between that and adopting a worldview where everything is a hidden plot, every protest is fake, every alliance is manipulation, and every conflict is secretly engineered. Because once you go there, you're not analyzing reality anymore. You're just forcing everything into this narrative that can't be challenged at all, because if it does get challenged, well, that's actually a secret. Well, that's actually this. And it's all just nonsense that they apply a standard to when looking at the ODNI, like Tulsi Gabbard statements, but they won't hold that same standard to this online slop that they get their information from. So my position tonight is simple. You don't have to agree with every decision the United States makes. Of course not. In fact, I would find you weird if you did. You don't have to agree with every action Israel takes. Again, I'd find it weird if you did. But if the question is whether Americans should support the United States government over the Iranian regime, an Islamist regime that doesn't represent American values whatsoever in a conflict, then we should be making that decision based on evidence, strategy, and values, not speculation, and definitely not apologetics for a regime like the IRGC. I'm done.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. We're going to turn it over to Daniel. Sorry about the lag, guys. It's clearing up. I accidentally raised the bitrate on accident and just relowered it, so that was my bad. Should be good now here in just a second. It always stutters a little bit. All right, so Daniel, start whenever you're ready, and I'll hit the timer.
Okay. Let's see. Just sharing my screen.
The audio is great, though, just so you guys know.
Okay, just sharing my screen.
All right, go ahead.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just bring up the opening. Okay. Starting now. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Should Americans support war on Iran? One of the biggest reasons they shouldn't is that Iran is actually the regional enemy of Israel. In other words, Iran is the dam keeping Israel in check, and that's a great thing. No one other than Zionists wants that dam to break because everyone now sees Israel for what it is, a mass murdering Jewish supremacist terror state. Let's take a second to look at what Israel has done to Gaza. This is Gaza before and after Israeli terrorism. Show me another war zone in the world like this. Now look at what Israel is doing just now to southern Lebanon as we speak. This is what Israel does not only to Muslims, by the way. This is their policy for whoever opposes them. Whoever opposes Jews is labeled Amalek and is targeted for ruthless extermination. This is what their religion, Judaism, actually teaches. The proponents of this war on Iran claim that the Iranian government is a bunch of crazy fundamentalists who want to kill all the Jews and Christians in the world. This is wrong for several reasons. First, Iran is not driven by fundamentalist zealotry. It's a structured state with a defined political ideology and institutions combining elements of theocracy and republican governance, where decisions are shaped as much by political survival and strategic interests as by religious rhetoric. Second, even hardcore Islamic law does not permit the mass killing of Jews and Christians. In Islamic jurisprudence, they're recognized as Ahlul Dhimma, protected peoples, who, while not given full religious freedom, are still granted security of life, property, and religious practice under Muslim rule. Many Jews and Christians live in peace in Iran. Iran also has good relations with many non-Muslim states like Russia and China. The idea that Islam mandates their extermination is simply Zionist propaganda. But let's contrast this with Jewish law. Judaism's Torah promises that Jews will rule over non-Jews. It says Jews are entitled to conquer and enslave all other people and obligates them to slaughter women and children. It also says Jews will rule by spreading fear and terror. Although the Quran does endorse a type of religious imperialism via jihad, the ideas of the Torah go far beyond anything found in the Quran. Nevertheless, Western media propagates the notion that the Quran is violent, whereas the Torah is simply a source of ancient wisdom, despite what we actually see Torah-abiding Jews doing in places like Palestine. Deuteronomy 15:6 says Jews are entitled to rule over non-Jewish nations. Deuteronomy 2:25 says Jews will rule over non-Jews through terror and inflicting anguish. Deuteronomy 28:10 says non-Jews are supposed to fear Jews. Deuteronomy 20:10-18 says Jews are entitled to conquer and enslave all non-Jews, i.e. in cities that are far away. But in the land of Canaan, i.e. greater Israel, which includes modern-day Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, etc., there is an additional obligation to kill all women and children. Judaism is literally the only religion that obligates killing the babies of your enemies. Many rabbis today teach this. Another fun fact, Judaism has a sacred command to kill all the world's idolaters, especially Christians, and destroy all the world's religions. Maimonides, one of the top religious authorities in Judaism, states that Jews have a religious obligation to wage war against idolaters across the world and kill them if they do not cease their idolatry. He writes, "Do not establish a covenant with them. Rather, they must renounce their idol worship or be slain. It is forbidden to have mercy upon them." Modern rabbis teach this point as well. For example, in a viral video clip, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi says that 2 billion Christians and 4 billion Chinese, Indians, and Japanese do not deserve to live, quote, do not deserve to live because they are idol worshipers. So idol worshipers must be killed, but what about killing non-idol worshipers? According to Maimonides, the non-idol worshipers should be lashed and beaten until they abandon their religions and be forced to follow the Noahide laws. Judaism is also a racially supremacist religion. The Torah and the Talmud both teach that Jews are a superior race and the rest of the world must submit to them. Deuteronomy chapter 7 says God has chosen Jews as a special people who are above all other people. The Talmud, the most important book in Judaism, teaches that non-Jews are not even considered human beings. Bava Metzia 114b says Jewish people are called man, but Gentiles are not called man. The Talmud also teaches that all non-Jews are akin to dangerous animals, or more specifically, snakes. Hence, all Jews should be killed. The Jerusalem Talmud says, kill the best of Gentiles, smash the head of the best of snakes. This is why Judaism is the only religion in the world that obligates killing the babies of your enemies. Let's also not forget that Judaism teaches rape as a weapon of war. Jewish soldiers are given the divine right to rape any non-Jewish female they wish, regardless of her age, even as young as 3 years old, and even if she's married and has children.
You got 5 minutes,
These rules
Daniel.
are discussed in both the Talmud and the Mishnah Torah. The Jewish soldier is allowed to simply take the woman to a vacant area, violently subdue her, and then satisfy himself. In some cases, the Jewish soldier has the divine right to simply kill the woman or child and move on. Because the entire Jewish army is entitled to engage in such behavior, every Jewish war is a mass rape campaign targeting non-Jews and their children. Also, the chief rabbi of the Israeli military, Eyal Karim, taught soldiers that raping non-Jews in war is divinely permitted. IDF soldiers recently admitted that they used dogs to rape Palestinian prisoners. Oh, and I also forgot, Judaism also has Metzitza B'Pah. A rabbi sucks a baby's penis after circumcision, a practice backed by the chief rabbi of Israel. Jewish apologists say that these Jewish teachings don't matter because most Jews don't follow them. But we can all see how Jews, especially an increasing majority of Jews in Israel, follow these religious teachings. Religious Jews are the fastest growing demographic of Jews. Furthermore, 79% of Israelis, whether religious or not, believe that Jews should get preferential treatment over non-Jews. Their highest officials, including Netanyahu, are constantly talking about destroying Amalek. Other officials like Smotrich openly talk about plans to conquer Syria, Lebanon, the West Bank, and establishing Greater Israel. As for rape, in 2024, there were mass Jewish protests, outraged that IDF soldiers were arrested, despite the fact that the soldiers had been caught on tape gang raping and torturing Palestinian detainees. The Palestinian victim they gang raped had been sent to the hospital because the sexual assault was so violent that his rectum burst and he lost the ability to walk. Meanwhile, Israel's finance minister called the rapists our heroic warriors. Another lawmaker said IDF soldiers should have the right to rape Palestinian prisoners whenever they want. Let me emphasize, these Israeli figures don't think the soldiers are innocent. They know the soldiers engaged in brutal rape, but they assert that brutal rape of Palestinians shouldn't be considered a crime. In a nutshell, this is what Judaism is all about. This is what Israel is all about. So why should the US help people who follow this satanic religion eliminate Iran, who is their biggest enemy? Why? Honest question. Is it Islam that poses the biggest threat to Americans, as my opponent claims, or is it Judaism? Let's focus on one example, the war on terror from 2001 to today, with endless wars in the Middle East that have economically devastated the US. Most Americans view the war in Iraq as a massive blunder. And the majority of Americans today oppose the war with Iran. This is because they recognize that these wars have no benefit for the US and only cause economic devastation. Crude oil just today hit $120 a barrel, and a massive market crash is expected by the end of the year.
2 minutes.
Cost of living was already too high and it's going to get much worse, pushing millions of Americans into poverty. Yet the US government seems hell-bent on continuing this war despite popular opposition. Why? It's because powerful Jewish interests demand this war because it serves Israel's interests. When the government acts in a way that is harmful to its people but beneficial to a foreign country, that's a good indication that the government is controlled by that foreign entity. And we see this not only in government, but also academia, media, and technology. In government, the control of Israel is best represented by the fact that Netanyahu's speeches get more standing ovations in Congress than any US leader. Everyone now is aware of the Israeli lobby as well as Epstein blackmail, and this explains why many American politicians support going to war with Iran when the majority of Americans oppose. In academia, Trump, under Zionist pressure, has shut down free speech and protests on campuses, calling criticism of Israel's anti-Semitism, which has also stifled free academic inquiry. In media, Zionists have bought social media companies like TikTok. The Ellisons, staunch Zionists, have also bought media companies like Paramount and Warner Bros. In technology,
1 minute left, Daniel.
In technology, pro-Israel companies like Palantir are planning to use AI surveillance against Americans. Increasingly, histrionic American Jews like the Trump-appointed anti-Semitism envoy call for federal government to identify and hunt down anyone they think is an anti-Semite. If Iran is eliminated, this will make Israel stronger, and all these problems in the US will only get worse. More poverty, more corruption, more surveillance, less freedom of speech. As Americans, we are looking down the barrel of a gun. The ironic thing is Iran is really fighting for us as Americans and the world. They're fighting the Epstein axis, and we should all be rooting for them to win.
All right. Appreciate your opening there. All right, guys. Nick, if you would like to give a short rebuttal to his opening statement in whatever way, capacity you'd like, you're welcome to. And then Daniel, same, we'll keep it short, so that we'll just get into the open dialogue. You guys can communicate civilly. If someone does start talking over the other one, I will have to step in. Please respect the moderator. And then if we cannot agree on talking over each other, we'll go to timed debate or timed responses. All right, so with that, go ahead, Nick.
Yes, thank you. There's a lot to respond to, but I want to make it clear that, again, the claim is that if the United States Americans should support the U.S. government or support the IRGC, he spent 95% of his thing just saying why we should not like Jews. And I get his overall point is that if Jews are like this, and therefore Israel must be like this, even though they're mostly secular, but they should be like this, and therefore we should support the IRGC to win, because in reality it would actually benefit America in the long run. But the problem is that, first off, okay, he said a lot of things. The first thing he said named for me another city that looked like Gaza, Aleppo, 2016, especially many areas in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Aleppo wasn't even really U.S. intervention anyways. So it's like, I can actually keep going, but I have to move on because he mentioned a lot of things. He mentions Amalek, almost every modern Orthodox community, and as a whole, including Israel's statement as itself, is Amalek is unknown in Judaism. If you actually read beyond cherry-picked Talmudic verses where you incorrectly state what they actually say, Amalek is unknown, so it actually doesn't have anything. When Benjamin Netanyahu mentioned Amalek, he didn't even mention the verse of Samuel 15. That's not what he was talking about. He's talking about a different. It was Commandment 612 about remembering what Amalek did to you, and it's the exact same quote that's outside of The Hague on a plaque. So unless he thinks The Hague is invoking Amalek, I hope not. It's just a ridiculous statement. It's like if I say, I don't know, Jesus, and then you attribute a different verse just because I said a word that's in another verse. He says that Iran is not fundamentalist. It was founded by Khomeini, who literally has religious ruling on being able to have sexual relations with after puberty, but even pre-pubescent girls, you can touch them and have them touch you for sexual pleasure. If that's not what fundamentalist is, then okay, fine. He says that they really actually love Christians and they get along very well and Jews in Iran. So he talks about like what the Talmud says, but I can tell you in the Quran, or excuse me, in Sunnah, it specifically states that when Isa, Jesus Christ, or well, they don't think of him as Christ, but Jesus returns, he's going to destroy all of the crosses, slaughter all of the pigs, and establish Sharia law. And therefore, those that are against the belief in Islam are not going to have such a great time. As for calling them protected people, that's only if they pay the jizya. It says in Surah 5 that specifically you will cast terror into the hearts of your enemies and strike the necks of the unbelievers in every finger until they submit and pay the jizya. I don't know. I don't think they do that in Iran, so I don't really know what his point is. He said Canaan is Greater Israel. It's not. That's not even close to correct. Greater Israel would actually be larger. It also depends on what you mean by Greater Israel. In Genesis, it's from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates. Incorrectly, a lot of people think it's the Nile. It's not. But if you look in the book of Joshua, it's actually a lot smaller. Either way, Canaan is different. He said about commandments to kill non-Jews. He's actually misreading the Talmud. So what the Talmud does is it specifically talks about what's said in the Mishnah versus the Gemara. And then if he keeps reading, it actually has rabbinical arguments that go against that. And right after, it actually says that Adam, which is Hebrew for a man, right, generally attributed to Jews, right? But it says that for non-Jews, right, it actually says that a man actually refers to all Gentiles and all Jews, and that we're required to I'm quoting it. It says, we, as in Jews, are required to be a light amongst the nations. And they're the only Abrahamic faith that doesn't believe that Gentiles have this, like, if you're not a Jew, you're going to go to this burning thing. And in Islam, you know, because I'm not Muslim and I'm a disbeliever, I'm going to go to hell or Jahannam, and my skin will burn off and it'll regrow and burn off forever and ever. Most denominations of Christianity also believe in a hell. Judaism is the only one that says if you do, regardless of who you are, good or bad, rabbi or Gentile, you're going to go through a cleansing process, but everyone has a right to the time to come, right? You can call it heaven, you can call it whatever you want, but they're the only Abrahamic religion that doesn't see themselves as actually better. It's actually Islam that sees itself, and some denominations of Christianity as well, which I'm not here to change your belief in that. Continue to be a good Muslim and be a good Christian, but it's really hypocritical. The study that found soldiers IDF rate at, he's talking about state timing. The video didn't show that at all, and neither did any Israeli parliament or member of the Knesset ever say that. This is pro-Palestinian propaganda that actually edited the film, and they blocked out certain areas to show that you can actually see between their legs because they were holding up the shields. No one was actually raped. In fact, the original document and the medical report of the woman who was anti-Bibi Netanyahu, who leaked the tape herself because she was against what happened, and that was a beating that happened. She even said that there was no rape, and she's the one that was actually released the tape and actually released this information and leaked it all out, and was trying to get Bibi Netanyahu actually out of power because she's left-wing. And even she said that that is not true. There was no parliamentary ruling on rape at state timing. It's just, it's nonsense, and this has been debunked like 6 months ago. I don't even know why we're still talking about that. The energy, I'll move on to that later because I know I want to make this quick. He said that Israel is controlling the United States government, and his proof was that it's that they have standing ovations for Bibi Netanyahu. They have standing ovations because they agreed with what he said. Standing ovations doesn't equal control. That's stupid. Also, he mentioned Amalek again, and then he showed an article that Bibi Netanyahu, the article literally said on his slideshow that he's referring to Hamas. I'll go ahead and end with this. This idea that Iran is fighting for us. No, Iran is fighting for Iran, which again is totally fine. Well, Iran is fighting for the IRGC, which again is totally fine. But this idea that they're secretly like, we really need to help America, we're fighting for them, they're not.
All right, thank you. Daniel, go ahead and give your rebuttal. You have up to 5 minutes since he took about that amount of time.
5 minutes?
That was about 5 minutes,
like
yeah.
A lot longer than 5 minutes. Okay.
If you want to go like 30 seconds over, I mean, I'm sure it's okay, but we'll just eat into the open dialogue time a little bit. I don't necessarily want to do that, but.
All right, can you, I just need to share my screen again.
Okay, go ahead. Are you sharing?
Hold on, sorry. Yep, can you see?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my response to his opening, he says that America first means supporting American government. Like, this is some kind of cheap haspara. America first means serving the interests of the American people. And if the American government is not serving the interests of the American people, then that is a problem. So he's just trying to redefine America first in a like openly subversive way. He says that any Islamist regime that promotes extremism, terrorism, pedophilia should be opposed and I guess invaded and bombed. Okay, then America should be bombing Israel. America should be bombing and destroying Israel for many reasons, like article after article and research shows that Israel's a haven for pedophiles. Jewish pedophiles in America flee to a safe haven in Israel. This is something that is reported on. Human rights groups have extensively reported on this, and there are many high-profile cases of this happening all the time, like in Las Vegas last year of a Israeli official actually getting caught in a pedophile sting and him being able to flee to Israel and maintain protection there. Also, we want to talk about pedophiles. What about Jeffrey Epstein? Very beloved by Israel, you could say. He also, a lot of his opening was premised on the idea that Iran shouldn't get nukes. I believe that Iran absolutely deserves to have nukes for its own self-protection, to be protected from being turned into a crater by the United States and Israel, who are threatening to do so. Literally, Donald Trump is threatening to wipe Iran off the map, to turn it into a glass crater, to wipe its civilization away. He says that, well, Iran has so many protests, and so we have to support the Iranians. Well, guess what? Israel constantly is having protests as well. Maybe the U.S. needs to save Israel from its government through bombing it to the Stone Ages. America also has plenty of major protests on the basis of corruption or just any other cause. You know about Occupy Wall Street that happened in the early 2000s, around 2010. You have Black Lives Matter, of course, from a few years ago. And these were massive protests that rocked many major US cities. Maybe Iran should bomb the United States by Nick's logic here. Protests indicate the need for regime change. He says that there's more stability when Israel and America is in the region. Oh yeah, is there stability in the Middle East? That's news to me. I don't think anyone is talking about the stability in the Middle East, especially when since the beginning of the Zionist-pushed war on terror, 4.5 million deaths in the Middle East, 38 million refugees. This is reported by Brown University, Watson Center, Cost of War Project, Watson Institute Cost of War Project. He says that Amalek is undefined. This is nonsense. Was Netanyahu just referring to nothing? Like he was just quoting the Torah randomly? No, he's just citing exactly the verse in the Torah about blot out Amalek, blot them out, do not forget. And the whole theological significance of Amalek, not only in the Torah, but also in the Talmud, is that they are the enemies of the Jews at any time. And they should be, and this is how the Talmud and rabbinic scholars have interpreted it historically, they should be wiped out. And so Netanyahu is applying that to the Palestinians, and that's how all of Israel understood it. All Jews around the world understood. He says that, oh, we don't have hell in Judaism. Well, why is the Talmud describing Jesus Christ boiling in a vat of feces in hellfire? This is from the Talmud. You can read Jesus in the Talmud by Princeton University Press, by Peter Schaefer, I believe, is the author. And this is a work that describes the Judaism's view and the Talmud's view of Jesus Christ as being boiling in a vat of feces and his mother being a whore. He says Jesus coming back, okay, in Islam. He also makes a big error. He says that we don't view Jesus as Christ in Islam. Yes, we do. We view him as Christ, the Messiah, Masih, the anointed one. That is part of Islamic theology. He says that Islam says that end times Messiah will force Jews and Christians to convert. Sure, okay, that is true. That's eschatology. That doesn't tell Muslims how they should behave or treat Jews today. But Jews, the difference is within Jewish law, Jews demand conversion or death of non-Jews even before the end times and the Messiah. So I said that. This is referring to... I don't know why this is here. Oh, this is eschatology, that at the end times when the Mashiach comes, their Jewish Messiah, that there will be 2,800 slaves, Goy slaves, Gentile slaves that each Jew will have. This is the Jewish eschatology. So we can talk about eschatology if he wants. He says that no prison rape because the tape was fake. Like, oh, they found out 6 months ago. This case is from 2024, and it was the Israeli courts that determined that this was real, and they actually arrested these soldiers. They arrested them, and it was protests that happened to release them on the basis of that we should have the right to rape. And I cited all these Israeli politicians, TV presenters who were saying that, yes, we should have the right to rape.
All right, man, you
okay,
got
so
about
even if it turned
30
out...
seconds left, and then we'll get into the open dialogue.
Sure. So even if it turned out that the tapes were fake, that doesn't change the reaction of the Israeli public that they wanted the right to rape the non-Jews, Palestinians, whether they're Muslim or Christian. He has this, he gave this apologetic about what does non-Jews being or Gentiles being non-human means. Here's Rabbi Schneerson, one of the main authorities in modern Judaism, who says that, non-Jews are a different species from Jews. Non-Jews are completely different in terms of their bodily substance. They have the soul of Satan. Like, these are the quotes that we can talk about in more detail. If you want to take my word for it about what Judaism says about non-Jews, just take a look at Schneerson here. A Jew is not created as means for some other purpose. He himself is the purpose of the entire world, since the substance of all divine emanations was created only to serve Jews. The heavens and the earth were created for the sake of Jews.
We'll have
the
to
important
wrap it
things
there, Daniel.
are the Jews, because they do not exist for any other aim. Okay, thanks.
All right, if you could stop sharing your screen, please. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. We got opening statements in. We got some rebuttals to those opening statements. I appreciate you both for being cordial and allowing each other to speak during that, and rolling with it, Nick, since you didn't get that email. Chat, like the video, get your tickets to DebateCon, and get some super chats in. I will be asking them at the end. All right, and with that, Nick, if you want to take it and open up the open dialogue, you're ready I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, I just again, just like real quick, the what we are arguing right now, the claim is if Americans should support the American government or the IRGC. Again, if you don't want to support the American government's action, I totally get that. That's what I said in my opening statement, but that doesn't mean we should support the IRGC. He's straw manning me. I never said we should bomb them because of pedos. Another straw man, I never said anything about bombing because of protests. I don't care if people protest. I don't even know where he got that from. The whole Alexander, the guy from Las Vegas who was a pedophile and fled to Israel, he didn't flee at all. He was allowed to leave, and he has an upcoming court appointment. And it was actually something that the judge got upset with their own court system, not him. And they allowed him to show up during his first meeting in Zoom in a future one. I don't remember the exact date, but it's in the future. He has to come back, and he will. And if he doesn't, then I'll be the first to say that's wrong. He should absolutely come back. But he didn't flee.
There's one thing I was wondering. One thing I wondering, Nick, because yesterday I was watching some of your videos, and in many videos, actually multiple, you claim that you have read 20,000 hadith. I think that's amazing. Like 20,000, is that true? Like you've read 20,000 or more hadith?
Well, first off, I generally say 15 to 20,000, but I've read, yes, all of Sahih. I mean, to be fair, all of Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Abu Dawood, and others that I've kind of read. I try my hardest to find those that are Sahih and chain, because if it's weak, daif, then it's just not worth it because people don't accept it. But yeah, it's about 20,000. I mean, Sahih al-Bukhari by itself has 7,500, and there's like 5,000 plus in Sahih Muslim, and then amongst the other ones. But to be fair, some of them do repeat.
Bukhari, so Bukhari has 7,500, you said?
Yes, of course, you should know that. You're Sunni, yes?
How many? Yes, I'm Sunni.
So
the thing that people don't understand is that actually Sahih Bukhari doesn't have 7,500 unique hadith. There are repetitions, actually.
I just said that. I literally just said that.
Right. So
I just said that I've read some
so how many
repetitions.
So if you don't count repetitions, how many unique hadith are in Bukhari and Muslim? Do you know that number?
Yeah, I'd have to recount it, and I've read more than just Bukhari and Muslim. But again, I think it's, I can read still 7,500 of them. I think most of the repetitions have actually been removed, which is why it went down to 7,500. I think the hadith overall, with all repetitions and those that were thrown out, go into the million plus hadith. Now, it does. Yes, it does.
No.
We looked this up.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Oh, you looked it up, or you actually read them? So now let me
No, I didn't
correct
read a
you because
million
you're
plus.
so
I'm
off.
saying it
Like,
goes
let's,
up to
this
hundreds
is
of
such
thousands
a
to a
there's
million.
there's
Guys,
not a
let's find a
million.
way to
I don't
tie
really know
this
what this
back.
has to do with
Yeah,
our conversation.
let's
Yeah, I
tie
don't
this
even know
back
why
It
to
we're
the
does. It has a
topic.
lot to do. It has a lot to do with it because
It
the
has to do
number
with
that
why
you're
we should support
citing.
the IRGC.
No, it actually questions your credibility. It questions
Okay.
that you make claims that are so baseless and so crazy. Like any Muslim who has any level of knowledge knows that claiming to have read 20,000 hadith is so insane because Bukhari and Muslim, what you keep saying, okay, what you've Googled, Bukhari and Muslim, they only have about 4,000 unique hadith between them. Bukhari and Muslim, 4,000. If you look at all, like you want to include all of the Sahih Sitta, you want to read like the 6 canonical books of hadith. If you include everything, okay, everything, it only reaches 19,600. So
you're
you're
telling
claiming to have
me,
read all of these books.
okay,
You can't even
real
name
quick.
them. You can't even name what the Sahih Sitta
Well,
are.
first,
And so it's so
actually,
ridiculous. Like this is nonsense. You don't know what you're talking
Daniel,
about.
One,
let's let him
I did
respond to
name,
that real quick.
I did
No, you
name
didn't.
them,
You
and
said
two,
Abu Dawood. No, you didn't.
All right.
You can
that is
Google it,
one
but
of
your
them.
number, the thing is that your number is based on Google, not
okay,
what you
real
actually
quick,
have
you're
read.
not letting me
All
respond.
right.
So
Let
are
him
you saying
respond,
Abu
Daniel,
Dawood
and I'll
is,
let you respond to
are you saying
what he
Abu
says.
Dawood is not one of them? Is that what you just said?
And Nick, keep in mind, if you ask a question and then you want to keep going, that's going to kind of cause a hang up there.
Okay, well, fine. I'll just make that as a statement. The fact that he doesn't know what Abu Dawood is and he's saying that, like, he's laughing as if that's not one of them, it absolutely is. Anyone can just Google this right now or just go to sunnah.com. You can see it. And furthermore, there's about at least 12,000, I think, more hadith between Sahih Muslim and Sahih al-Bukhari. So he's saying the unique between both of them goes down to 4,000. That would mean that a third of them, it would go down to a third. So he's thinking that they're repeating 3 times each on average every single hadith, and that's the only way because 4,000 times 3 is 12,000, and I think it's actually more than 12,000. I'm being a little conservative here, so I don't think that's true at all. I've read all of Sahih al-Bukhari, I've read all of Sahih Muslim. I literally said, to be fair, there are some that repeat, but it is definitely not at 3 times the rate. I am questioning. I don't know who you are. I actually just found out who you were.
How many?
So I don't know what your
Okay, just
beliefs
tell
All right,
me.
so yeah, Daniel, go ahead
but
and
I just
respond
want
to
to
that.
know, this has nothing to
respond?
do with whether we should, of course, I will let you respond, but this has nothing to do with the topic at all. I just really want to point that out there.
Can you tell me how many surahs are in Sahih Bukhari?
How many surahs are in Sahih al-Bukhari?
Yeah, or
You're
they're also
saying the
called rakat.
chapters?
Rakat.
Okay,
How many
rakat.
surahs are
The
rakat?
surah
How
is
many in?
more of a Quran thing, correct?
Yeah, it can be. Tell me how many rakat then in Sahih Bukhari?
I'm not sure.
Just a ballpark.
I have no idea.
You read it cover to cover.
I've never seen the word surah.
Like, you think it's more or less than 100 rakat in
Okay,
Sahih
All right,
great.
Bukhari.
so
That's
Daniel,
awesome.
if you could tie that back into the topic, that would be excellent for the chat.
You can tie this
Yeah,
back into the topic because this isn't
so
about
I'll
the topic.
I'll relay it back to the topic. So all the Muslims watching, you can stop laughing now at this exchange, but it's relevant because he makes claims that are so false, like so obviously false that to anyone who knows the facts, he just relies on people's ignorance. He relies on the audience's ignorance to make these exaggerated claims that have no basis in reality. Like, I read Sahih Bukhari cover to cover. Like, do you know how many volumes it is? Like, it's like, if you put on a bookshelf, it's like this thick. So you're like the most dedicated reader of religion that I've ever seen, and you claim to be like a nuclear engineer. Okay. But your numbers are just based off of Google. They have no actual reality.
They're based off of sunnah.com.
For anyone who actually knows.
They're based off of sunnah.com.
Okay, so you went through every page of Sahih Bukhari on sunnah.com.
Yes.
How
correct.
many rakat? How many rakat? Can you check on sunnah.com how many rakat are there?
You're asking this question again, and I am not sure what you're referring to. What I'm saying is that each hadith is about, there's some that are in the paragraphs, but most of them are actually just a couple sentences. Like, the fact that you think reading 7,500 of them speaks more to your ignorance than it does mine. It's not that hard. It took me about a couple months. I don't even know why you think this is so weird. Like, I know you think Muslims are like laughing at me. I bet there's actually some laughing at you right now, because 7,500 hadith would not take this extreme amount of time. I have no idea what you're laughing at. This is not a weird thing.
You read 15 to 20,000. In some interviews, you say more than 20,000. You say you read more than 20,000.
I'll just look it up right now and show you.
Why do you have to look it up? You read it. You
You're
read
asking
them.
me. No,
Okay.
I
You
know,
read
I know the
them.
number. I know the number. I'm just looking it up to show everyone how many there actually are.
Sure. And
So
after
right
that,
here,
I do
let's-
want to get back into
so real quick,
why
yeah, I do.
someone
I would
should
love to get back to
support
the
X or
conversation
Y
that we-
here. I get that there's rhetoric involved in debates, and Daniel, I want to respect that that's maybe something you're trying to do there, but I don't want to completely let it go on into an interrogation about how much Nick might know about that specific subject. I think you made your point, but after that, let's try to bring it back to your points of why X.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. He laughed at me saying that there's potentially over 1 million. It says right here that the total number of narrated hadith prophetic traditions exceeds hundreds of thousands, potentially over 1 million. Exactly what I said word for word. And also, without repetition, it says right here, Sahih al-Bukhari has 7,563 total. Exactly what I said. Sahih Muslim, it's about 7,500. And it says without repetition, Sahih Muslim and Sahih al-Bukhari together are closer to 6,000. He said 4,000. So like I said, I was right. He was wrong. I don't even know why I'm teaching this guy.
Your knowledge is based on Google, like you Google something or see on ChatGPT.
Just go to just go to sunnah.com. Just go to sunnah.com, and I promise you it's about 7,500 between Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. If you guys don't believe me, Google it. I promise you I will be vindicated, and he won't be. And there are
you don't even know how many rakat are. Google how many rakat are in Sahih Bukhari.
Right,
Google that.
Wow.
All right, I'm gonna
Google
go
it.
ahead. I'm gonna go ahead.
Why can't you Google that one?
There, Daniel. We have to
Google
we have
that.
to bring it back. This is
Great.
this is
Can
a
we get
point
back to the
that
conversation
you made, and now I want to kind of get back to maybe giving some of your pro support positions, and then we can get a back and forth on that. But I understand what you're trying to do there, and I wanted to give you time and be patient to let you do that. We got to speed it up.
MashaAllah.
Sure, no problem. It's no problem. Yeah, so I mean, I don't understand the moral case for like why the U.S. should be attacking Iran. You said it has nothing to do with protests. It has nothing to do with corruption. Like, what is the reason then? Like, how does this? And you defined America First as being whatever benefits or supporting the American government. Can you respond to what I said?
Yeah, it's just not what I said.
say?
It's a straw man argument. So what I said is that the claim that we are arguing, or at least trying to be on hadith, is that what should Americans support if the two options, again, anyone can just read the title of the YouTube video, the US government or the IRGC. And I'm saying, if you're really going, and I implemented America First because Trump created America First, so you're the one actually redefining it, not me and not Trump. But that being said, it doesn't mean you have to blindly support everything the government does. Trust me, I am, as a conservative, I don't support everything President Trump does. There's some things that I don't like about the guy. I never once said that. What I said is that if the two options, again, title of the YouTube video, you guys, is the US government or the IRGC, again, you can be against some of the actions.
That's not the title that we agreed on, though. Should the American people support war on Iran? That's the topic.
Okay,
so it's not like a binary.
Look it up real quick, so I just make sure. Maybe the title was changed at the last second. Let's look it up.
That's not the title I agreed to. I thought Mike, like,
should Americans support the U.S. government or Iranian government? I just want to make it clear that the original topic was actually Israel-Palestine. Daniel is the one that changed it. I was told that he wanted to change it, and I agree to this title. I will, after this, on my X, I will release all of the DMs showing that this was the title that he changed after 2 separate changes, and I said yes the whole way because I wasn't interested in trying to find a specific title. I just wanted to debate, regardless of who it was. There's 3 people that
I tried to clarify in the beginning that this is should Americans support the U.S. or Iran governments in the context of the war that's happening in Iran right now. So if we can make sure that we're,
I mean, this is a binary that you're creating, like. So, I mean, this is not what I agreed to.
You chose the title, and it's in the title of the YouTube video.
Can I specifically read it? Can I talk? Can I say something? Can I say something? Okay. So I specifically did not want this title so that you could pin me as an IRG supporter. Okay. I specifically denied.
I didn't pick
I know.
this title.
It doesn't matter if you title. I'm just explaining why I rejected the title. No, I did not. I did not.
Like I said, on my X after, I will release the entire DMs.
How did we didn't DM each other? How can you release the DMs? You can DM.
I guess James was lying then.
Like, Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
that's
we
the
can
DM
take it up with
talking about.
James. Like,
Yeah, I'm
you
not
can talk
James.
to
I'm just trying
James
to
because
keep
he said
this
one
as
thing to
close the
me.
rails.
Okay, well, I mean, I did message James. I can release the emails as well. I specifically did not want should Americans support US government or IRGC. Okay, I specifically asked for the title, should Americans support war on Iran, the attack on Iran? And the reason, and I gave the explanation because I'm American, and I am American first in the sense of I want what's good for the American people. I
This
want
is
what's
on
good for
topic.
the American
Go
people,
with
and
that.
what is going to harm American
Sure,
people is this
Daniel,
war.
go ahead and let's just change the
Economically,
title halfway through. Go ahead.
I mean, it's very clear the argument that I made, the disaster of this war so far for the American people. It will continue to be disastrous. I don't know, how much are you paying for gas? Like our gas, I'm in Texas, is
My
over. It's getting
argument-
close to over $4
All right.
a gallon.
We'll let him respond.
Hey, this is
going
going to devastate the American people. Okay, on the basis of what? And this is why the majority of Americans oppose this war.
All right,
So tell
Daniel,
us why
let
the
him
American
respond
people are wrong.
to that question. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sure. So the majority of Americans don't particularly. It's actually a split when you see it. I'm a conservative. I'm not really interested in what Islamists and leftists particularly feel. They reject a lot of things, but if you actually look at the conservative side of the excuse me, it's about 80% that actually do support this. But nonetheless, the argument, if we want to switch the claim to should Americans, I don't know, support this war or whatever, let's just say that's the claim now. The argument should be made regardless. I'm not going to appeal to popularity. That's a logical fallacy and shouldn't be used in debates. So you're wrong, but I also don't particularly care. That being said, I agree with you. Gas prices have gone up. To frame that as devastation for the American people is not just dramatic, it's emotional garbage. And I also believe in a long-term benefit, like the energy lanes that Trump has been securing these past 2 weeks very clearly. That's going to have a permanent or at least an indefinite effect for the American people in the positive direction in the long-term future versus the short-term. So I concede your idea about the short-term effect, and I agree with you to find some middle ground here. However, I counter it with the long-term effect.
All right.
Yeah, so you said 80% of conservatives. Fine. I was talking about the American people as a whole. I don't actually trust 80% figures that are given by the GOP. It seems to be very biased in order to
Wasn't given
generate
by the
public
GOP.
support. GOP aligned outlets, whatever.
It was CNN.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Very GOP aligned.
60%, over 60% of the American people actually are opposed to the war. And it's because they're tired of endless wars in the Middle East for Israel. That's what they're tired of. They're tired of their government being controlled by the Israeli lobby. They see it very clearly. They feel it day to day because they notice that there are all kinds of policies that are put in place on social media through community guidelines where you're no longer allowed to criticize Israel in many ways. Still, there's some level of freedom on X, for example, but a lot of these social media platforms are cracking down increasingly. And this is why a Zionist like Larry Ellison, the personal friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, is acquiring TikTok for the US and is cracking down on community guideline policies, which are limiting the ability to criticize this war on Iran, limiting the ability to criticize the Israeli government. We saw a Florida student just recently be put in prison. She's waiting a trial, but her bail was denied because she's seen as a credible threat because she made a joke about Benjamin Netanyahu in a WhatsApp group. So this is the level of crackdown that's taking place on the American people. And they're getting tired of it. They're getting tired of being Israel's lapdog.
All right. So let's.
Okay, so real quick, that didn't answer anything I said about the long-term effect of energy lanes. But that being said, I will answer that Florida lady was not arrested at all for a Bibi Netanyahu joke. If you just read the transcript or watched the video or listened to the judge, she was arrested because she said that the area that were taking the test should be bombed. So this is ridiculous. Watch this. Bibi Netanyahu is a piece of shit. He's an idiot. Okay, if I'm arrested tomorrow, then Daniel wins this debate. People criticize Israel all the time online. You're allowed to criticize Israel. If anyone, and again, just go Google it, see what she said. The transcript is available for the public. She did not get arrested for joking about Bibi Netanyahu. She got arrested because she said the area they were taking the test should be bombed. That's a bomb threat. That being said, can you answer what I said about the energy lanes? I don't know why I get it. You don't like Israel, you don't like Bibi. Cool, we all got that, dude. What does that have to do with my claim?
Yeah, so these are just perspective. Like every single war, we're told that the energy prices are going to go down. We're going to have so much free oil. This is what Trump said after taking out Maduro and taking control of Venezuela. He also said there's going to be so much free oil. Yes, it does. Energy prices do have to do with the cost of crude, barrels of crude. Yes, are you denying that the energy prices have to do with the cost of a barrel of crude oil?
No, I didn't say energy prices.
Then why are you interrupting?
Energy lanes. I said the energy lanes that he was securing from not just the Strait of Hormuz all the way to the Straits of Malacca and the Straits of Singapore. That's what I was talking about, not necessarily just oil.
Securing in the future. So what? Okay, energy, mainly petroleum. Yeah, natural gas. Like, why are you interrupting for the sake of like nitpicking like this? Yeah, oil, natural gas, any kind of energy lane that you're talking about that in the future we're promised is going to be opened up and is going to be controlled. Donald Trump can't even open the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, okay, in the Red Sea. He can't even, with the force of the entire Navy, get Ansar Allah, the Houthis, to stop blocking the Red Sea back in 2024 and 2025. He couldn't even do that. How is he going to secure any other energy corridor, whether it's the Strait of Hormuz or Strait of Malacca or whatever it may be? Indonesia just announced, actually, that they're going to start tolling the Strait of Malacca as well. So, I mean, this is just prospects. Before every single war, during every single war in the Middle East, the government says, oh, this is going to bring prosperity. But we've seen like 25 years of this. Is a boy that cried wolf. Oh, we're going to have prosperity, and American standard of living continues to decline. Cost of living has gone way up. Inflation has gone through the roof. The petrodollar is about to collapse, as now Iran is requiring trade or passage through the Strait of Hormuz to be paid in fees in yuan, the Chinese currency, instead of the dollar. And they're actually incentivizing these ships to pay in yuan instead of the dollar. And the Gulf countries, UAE is leaving OPEC.
Let's let him respond to some of those claims.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, Nick, what I'd like to ask too is whenever you're finished with that response, maybe try to clarify your position for the audience. Again, I know you did in the opening statement, but just to reframe a little bit from where we've drifted back to where you stand on how involved and how much support Americans should be putting towards this conflict and why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to, I will do that. I'm going to have to change my claim now that there's a new title. But that being said, it wasn't in the future. Trump has actually already secured a lot of these energy lanes. Also, he lied. He said that Indonesia is going to start tolling the Straits of Malacca. They actually came out yesterday and said that they're not going to be doing that. But anyways, and then the Straits of Singapore, they already made it very clear with the 4 nautical mile choke point that they would not do that either. As for Iran, I guess to make my new claim would be that we should support the U.S. government because Iran has declared war on America since 1979, and just because you use proxy warfare with Operation Cassandra in 2008, with what we found out their proxy warfare in the Western Hemisphere, they have been declaring war and launching war on us since 1979. And also their ballistic missile program needs to be demolished. Amongst other things, but that's a major thing, and it ties directly into the nuclear capabilities. What I would say about the Straits of Hormuz and also what's happening with Iran. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but just yesterday there's a report that was actually released, and it's been showing over the past 2 weeks that Iran is actually in an economic strangle right now, and they are freaking out, and it's actually going to be the benefit of America. In fact, in the next 2 weeks, if this doesn't get figured out for them, they're going to start having to cap their oil wells. And once you cap an oil well, just so you guys know, you cannot reopen that. You can't start pumping again later. It actually would be detrimental. We've seen that their storage facilities are so backed up because of the effective blockade that they're starting to use old tankers that were decommissioned just so they can start storing. They have nothing going out. The biggest exports that they have to get hard cash in the IRGC is oil, of course, and petrochemicals. Both of them have been at a standstill to the point that they have been lowering the pumping to a point that they're actually starting to freak out because they want to continue pumping so they don't cap wells, but they also have nowhere to store it. The real went from 1.4 to 1.6 million, and that's what the protests were before this war. And now, just in the past days, it went up to 1.88 million per dollar. That is an extreme amount. In fact, that amount by itself in just days is bigger than what caused the protests and the top 5 banks of either collapse or almost collapse in the IRGC earlier this year, late last year. And so that has already been surpassed just in the past couple days because they have to print money. Over 1 million people have lost their jobs as the IRGC has been printing more money. They have no way to pay the Basij and others. And so we're starting to see people that will possibly start defecting. But nonetheless, we do know that over 1 million people have lost their jobs and they are in an economic strangle right now.
So, I mean, to respond to that, these are just reports that are coming from Western sources. It's a lot of propaganda, but the reality is that Iran has gone through economic sanctions for 47 years. The country has been devastated, and they've had to find ways to operate and to run their country of 90 to 100 million people while being in economic straits, like being in this kind of difficulty. So they're used to it. The people who are not used to economic difficulty are the American people. American people are the ones who are really going to suffer with the economic downturn and potential disaster that's going to come if the price of gas starts going more towards $7, $8, $9, $10, $12 a gallon. Like, this is going to be devastating for the American people. It's going to create a lot of joblessness. It's going to cause people to be able to even get to work anymore. The US really relies on labor that commutes to work. So this is going to be much harder for the American people than it's going to be for the Iranian people. They've already gone through this song and dance for 47 years. But if I'm trying to understand Nick's argument, okay, what I got from what you said is that we should support the US government in attacking Iran because Iran has been at war with the US for 47 years, since it was founded in 1979, the Islamic Republic. Okay, let me just accept that premise. Let me accept that Iran is at war with the US, even though in reality, it's the US that has been meddling in, attacking, along with the British, Iran for the better part of the 20th century. Let's put that aside. Let me just concede that Iran is hostile to the United States. Even if I pretended that that's the case, your assumption is true. Iran was in the middle of negotiating with the United States. Iran was in the middle of trying to negotiate a deal with the United States. And there are many reports that they were coming close to making some kind of deal, putting limitations on their nuclear enrichment, maybe moving their stockpiles to out of the Iranian mainland, maybe putting it on an island in the Persian Gulf or some kind of arrangement like that. They were getting close to some kind of agreement in the negotiations, but then suddenly the US attacks. Suddenly there's Operation Midnight Hammer last summer and the recent February 28 attack, where the US is in the middle of negotiating with Iran. So Iran demonstrates an intention to come to terms, to actually cease hostilities, even though all the hostilities are coming from the US side, when the US is sanctioning them, starving their people, okay, from all kinds of resources because of not only primary but secondary sanctions, but also taking out their important political leaders like Qasem Soleimani, or Israel bombing the consulate in Damascus, Iranian consulate in Damascus, taking out Ismail Haniyeh a couple of years ago in Tehran, like violating Iran's sovereign land. This is all crimes and aggression against Iran.
Yeah, a couple things. He says that he doesn't trust Western sources when they go against him, and then he quotes Western sources. With the negotiations, they made it very clear that they had no interest in doing anything with their ballistic missile program, something that President Trump has always made very, very key. In fact, it is his biggest criticism of the JCPOA was that it didn't mention the ballistic missiles program. Tied that with the 2015 report, but pre-2003 findings of the IAEA. It's very clear that this is directly tied to their nuclear missile production and capability on top of that is acting as a deterrence. We have reports that show that about a year to year and a half max, it would have been such a deterrence that even if NATO were to go against them, their air defense systems wouldn't be able to equal out the amount of ballistic missiles that they would have had. On top of that, he says that, oh, they're just starving. Their economy is all because of America. It's just their economy is so bad. I don't know if you guys know, but they pump actually gas in the Persian Gulf, and they give like half of that to Qatar. There's billions and billions of dollars that have been funneled through from corruption of the IRGC members. They've used cryptocurrency, by the way, to bypass sanctions, which pretty smart for them. No one denies that the Iranian people, including the IRGC, aren't smart. But this idea of this victimization of just like, oh my God, these sanctions are so bad. How about you stop giving fucking money to Qatar that should be your own personal regional natural resources? Why are you giving it to other entities when your people are quote unquote starving? I do agree with you that Americans are more sheltered, and I agree with you that they are going to put more pressure on our administration. When it comes to like economic hardship, I agree with you 100%. And Americans are pretty sheltered when it comes to that, and honestly a little weaker when it comes to that. But the difference is that they're allowed to put pressure onto their government. That's because we live in a society that we should admire. The IRGC doesn't allow for pressure to be put onto their government. We saw 30,000 plus people killed in just 2 days. It was actually more in two high-end officials in the Ministry of Health in Iran itself. The Ministry of Health. This isn't some Western source. They specifically said that they had so many deaths that they ran out of body bags. And this was only counting the deaths of hospitals that were actually on the record. This is only counting deaths of people that made it to the hospital, not the deaths that actually went straight to the morgue, which honestly probably would be the majority of people. And this only counted deaths that they were able to actually document. But nonetheless, at least 30,000 in 2 days. So yes, we live in a country where we're allowed to criticize and tell President Trump we don't like him.
All right, Daniel, go ahead and respond to that, please.
Yeah, I mean, Iran has denied all of these claims of 30,000. Like their official documentation is 3,000. Fine, you don't trust the Iranian government to report on these deaths, but there have been Western reports of these protesters carrying AK-47s, carrying all kinds of weapons that they're using against the police, and Israeli leaks have it, or there have been reports. Okay, I haven't read them, before getting on this debate, that the Israel was giving weapons, trying to smuggle weapons through the Kurdish region, the northwestern part of Iran, to get to protesters. We know that Israel has a presence within Iran, or they did. They launched a sneak attack last summer in the first wave of the war on Iran, the 12-day war. And it was based on Israeli spies operating within Iran, deep within Iran, and actually launching like small drones to cause terrorism. This is Mossad operation. So they were giving different dissident groups AK-47s so that they could attack police. So yeah, even if we grant 30,000, it was something that was generated by weaponry given by an external force, namely Israel, who has wanted to stoke this kind of mass protest in order to overturn the Iranian government, but it's failed. Again, I want to focus on how it's Israeli power that is harming the U.S. domestically and in terms of foreign policy. We're tired of endless wars in the Middle East, ballistic missiles. Like you're saying that Trump has always had this policy. No, he hasn't. Like as soon as Iran was making concessions on the nuclear aspect, then Israel added this. Netanyahu has visited the White House more than any other foreign official or foreign head of state. He's been coming to the White House to direct Trump in how to pressure Iran. And he only added the ballistic missile requirement after Iran was starting to make some headway or making some concessions on the nuclear option. And why shouldn't Iran have ballistic missiles? Why don't they have the right to self-defense as a nation? Like, do you not believe in a nation's right to sovereignty? Are you making a kind of might makes right argument that the U.S. is just the police officer of the world, and whoever doesn't bend the knee to the United States and Israel, they have to be made to suffer? Like, I don't even understand the kind of argument that you're making. It seems to be morally suspect or morally failing, actually.
Yeah, so to answer the first part, the idea of these like arms going to protesters, it was actually pushed mostly by Abbas Arakchi, I believe his name was. He's an Iranian official. I find it interesting at the beginning of this debate that Daniel here says that he's also America first, but notice how when he says Western reports / Western media says something, he doesn't trust them. But if an Iranian report, or specifically IRGC aligned report, says something, or an IGC member himself says something, he takes it like that. There was one Times of Israel article I actually talked about that, but it didn't actually even name the source at all, and it was repeating from another guy that actually was reporting on this. That being said, as for Trump adding this later on, that's not true. In fact, you can actually go back to the United Nations Security Council resolution that was back in 2015 that actually talked about their ballistic missile programs being a problem. This was before even Trump and America actually starting to mention this, but in 2015, obviously not as big of an issue as it is in contemporary times. President Trump has mentioned this stuff before. And like I said, pretty much at the beginning of the debate, and I've mentioned it multiple times, it's directly tied to the nuclear capabilities. You guys can go read the 2015 report. And if it's tied to their nuclear capabilities, we can go back to the early 2000s or 2010s when President Trump has made it very clear that they cannot have a nuclear weapon if their ballistic missiles are used solely as a deterrent and as a delivery system, research and development. Again, tied with the pre-2003 testing, like their neutron inhibitors that they tested, the high explosive testing that, by the way, Iran also denied, and then the IAEA released proof that they actually did this, and then they went into their corner and stopped denying it. So yeah, Iran denying stuff doesn't mean shit to me at all. But that being said, if you tie those together, the pre-2003 testing along with the ballistic missiles development that we now know are actually even more developed than we originally thought, yeah, of course it's tied to the nuclear capabilities. And again, I am a nuclear engineer. I know he said I claim to be one. No, I am. That being said, 60% enrichment to 90% is actually not going to be the hard part. The hard part, and by hard, I mean just months really, but the hard part is actually the things that come after the enrichment. And that's what they're doing with their ballistic missiles program.
Actually, I haven't ever talked to a nuclear engineer who is in the Navy. Actually, was wondering what is enrichment? Like, what is the enrichment process? Can you describe that for me?
Yeah, sure. So you take uranium and it has a generally about a 0.7%, give or take, natural concentration level. And then from there, the enrichment process is to use centrifuges and spin it fast. And the difference in density, you take the the uranium itself that becomes more highly concentrated, and you utilize more uranium and you continue this process. So you effectively increase the concentration of generally uranium-235, and then the fission process, if you go through a fission, is adding a neutron to make it 236. It becomes unstable. It creates like a dumbbell shape effectively that then splits into two separate cells, if you will. And from there, when it splits, that creates a process of fission where it releases alphas, neutrons, betas, gammas, and then those neutrons will go on to become moderated by a moderator. This is what they do in their Tehran reactor, I think is at 20%, their research reactor. And that continues on, and you control it using hafnium, the neutrons that go in, so you can kind of control the level. And you continue with this. Now with Iran, they specifically had mostly IR6 centrifuges, which are very quick. They were developing IR8 plus centrifuges. However, we don't know how much that they got, because all reports said that we know that they have them, but we don't know how much. Whereas at least with the IR6s, we know that they had a lot. That being said, of course, with Operation Midnight Hammer, a lot of those were destroyed, but unknown number.
What are you saying? Alpha, gamma, beta?
Let's not get too far off. Okay. Let's not get too far off here.
Okay. Yeah, because alpha, it depends on what kind of electromagnetic radiation we're talking about. Yeah. They're not necessarily neutrons.
Yeah,
I appreciate Nick's ability to explain it.
It's actually 1 MeV, so it actually doesn't. And alphas has nothing to do with the fission process. Don't try to question me on this. You'll lose that.
I will, right?
Let's just get back to the
Daniel, you did have the floor.
He mentioned his credentials. So yeah, I'm a physics degree holder from Harvard, so I also have a science background. But he mentioned it, so I mentioned it.
Yeah, we can set up a physics debate sometime.
Yeah, let's do a physics debate. That'd be good. Yeah, on nuclear energy. Yeah, so I don't see the argument here for why Iran shouldn't have nuclear weapons, why they shouldn't have ballistic missiles or ballistic missile capabilities. It's you're just appealing to Trump. Like Trump said that they shouldn't have it. Like who cares? Like not even all the American people are in support of Trump.
I also don't think
like
that they should have it.
Trump is not God. Like Trump is not like his decree. It's not divine command theory. Like why shouldn't a sovereign country be able to develop weapons? Israel has weapons. They have nuclear weapons that they stole from the United States, and they have a Samson option where they threaten that if they feel threatened at any point, they will actually launch their Jericho ballistic missiles, nuclear tipped, warhead tipped, to the rest of the world, major cities, and actually destroy, annihilate the rest of the world. That's the Samson option. So Israel not only has the ability, they've expressed potential intent. So why should they have ballistic missiles? Why should they have any kind of nuclear capabilities, especially again when they are harmful to America? Like they have harmed America in many ways, as I described in my opening statement.
Yeah, again, if you want to, I don't know if you're changing the title again. If you want to have an argument on why Israel shouldn't have ballistic missiles, I'd be more than glad to have that argument separately, but that's really not the argument here. I don't know why you keep changing the subject. I get it. You don't think Israel should, but that is not proving your argument on this. So I'm just going to get us back to the conversation that we're supposed to be having once again.
It's about consistency.
I'm going to go
It's about consistency. If Iran shouldn't have it,
great.
do you also agree that Israel shouldn't have it?
No, I don't. I want to make it very clear that this idea of like you can call me a hypocrite, I really don't give a shit. I want more Americas. I want more Western ideology. I want less Islamism. I'm very much against
about Judaism. You want more
I'm not Jewish. I'm not Jewish.
Wait, aren't you? You know. Didn't you want to be a Jew?
I have no idea what
you didn't want to convert to Judaism?
No, if I wanted to convert to Judaism, I would have started the process of converting to Judaism. I've never started the process, and still to this very day, I haven't started the process.
Why are you quoted in an interview as wanting to be Jewish, but your rabbi said, no, don't convert, just practice Noahide laws? Like this is an interview.
I don't have a rabbi. So just so you know, I don't have a rabbi. I have no idea what you're referring to. What I've always said was I have expressed interest, but have never gone through with it because I do not believe in rabbinical Judaism. So it doesn't make much sense for me to convert just to try to change the religion. I don't believe in it. So maybe one day I will. I don't know. Why are we talking about this? You have a hard time staying on topic. Anyways, that being said, I want to go back.
The point was your lack of consistency. Like that was the point.
Okay,
that was the point.
Cool.
Like, should America be supporting a country that subscribes to a religion as the official state religion that believes that Jesus Christ is boiling in hell in a vat of feces?
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So let me just answer
Jewish
this real quick.
It's a Jewish state, and Judaism is an ethno-cultural religion.
Yeah, you can't ask questions and let me answer. Just stop.
You interrupted me, so I'm interrupting you back.
Let me interrupt both of you just for a quick second.
Actually. My preferred religion.
All
right, I don't want to have to mute anybody, but let me just interrupt for a second and just add that. Daniel, I think you believe the questions you're asking are on topic because of XYZ. If you could just tie them to that a little bit more overtly, so that he's not as confused about why, and the chat's not thinking you're going in a different direction with the topic. Because if you're on topic in your rhetoric, then I would just like you to maybe keep it a little more clear, because we are in a time limit.
I can explain it.
But let's let him respond first, and then we'll get it back to you.
Go ahead.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to go back to what I was trying to do. Anyways, so yeah, back to why we should support this. Again, with the energy lanes that Daniel said, oh, but that's going to be in the future. Yeah, it's not true at all. USA mentioned, I mean, the idea of all of these tankers that are actually coming to the USA to buy oil, tens of billions of dollars have entered our pocket that never would have. Even China is buying oil from us. And with the Straits of Malacca, for example, the Straits of Hormuz isn't the #1 choke point actually in the world when it comes to oil. And China, their foreign oil, 80% actually goes to the Straits of Malacca. Even China is buying oil from us. That's incredible. The dollar won't collapse. Again, I concede the idea that Americans are not as ready for economic hardship, even though it's not really compared to areas of the rest of the world. I agree. Americans are very sheltered, especially Americans that have never even traveled outside of the country, some not even outside of their own state. So that's something I think me and Daniel can actually agree on. But that being said, the dollar won't collapse. The real has already collapsed. It's not even close. Inflation it has been due to government domestic spending, not the war, actually. But that being said, yes, I agree with you about the gas prices and try to bring this back. I think we should support because, again, we're eliminating an actor that I don't want. Oh, that's right. You asked about do I think that Iran should have the right? No, I don't think they should. Pakistan, like North Korea with nuclear weapons is something that we don't like to see, but we are forced to capitulate because they have these nuclear weapons. I don't want another bad faith actor, but the one thing that we see with the IRGC that we didn't even see with North Korea, for example, is that they don't really stay in their lane. If you guys go look at Operation Cassandra in 2008, they were doing all the way in the Western Hemisphere, they were sending their terrorist proxy groups to do drug smuggling, weapon smuggling, and they were even getting passports to be able to enter into the United States, not by sneaking in, but by actually looking very legal with the passport and getting into the United States. And these were known terrorist operatives. Some of them were captured, but possibly not all. The report is unclear, actually, and we don't actually know. But this is Operation Cassandra, and they were using this money to fund terrorism around the world, and not just around the world, but especially in the region through, he mentioned the Houthis, Hamas, PIJ, Hezbollah, Syrian, Iraqi militia groups, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is not a group that just kind of stays in their lane that we might be worried that we have to capitulate to. This is an actually threatening group. And even if at very best case scenario, they are just doing it as a deterrent, we're still now forced to capitulate to a group that has made it very clear, unlike places like North Korea or Pakistan, for example, that consistently kill Americans. Over 1,000 Americans since their inception in 1979.
right.
And just the past 2 years, 50 Americans. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's let Daniel respond to that.
Yeah, Americans are getting killed because they are being forced to play police officer for the United States, for Israel, by going to wars in the Middle East. Like, that's why Americans are dying. So if you're concerned about Americans dying, you want to lessen the number of Americans dying, then you shouldn't be in support of this war. Already there's been many American casualties. Dozens have been reported, and they're claiming that these reports are actually underreported. Iran has been able to, because of this attack on February 28th, been able to neutralize and destroy 17 out of the 18 bases in the Gulf. They were able to completely destroy the Bahraini base, the naval base that was so critical for the U.S. to be able to maintain naval control in the Persian Gulf. That's been destroyed. Many of the other air bases, the Patriot base in Kuwait, like, these are bases that have been systematically targeted and destroyed by Iran. So if we're purely going on the basis of American military interests and, Americans being killed in the Middle East or around the world, then this war has been a disaster even on that basis. But again, I return you to the moral question, something that you don't want to address, like, why should America be maintaining all of these bases in the Middle East that have resulted in endless wars in the Middle East, resulting in 4.5 million Muslim deaths, 38 million refugees. These refugees have to be transferred. They have to find a place to live. Oftentimes it's in other West Asian, Middle Eastern countries, but oftentimes they have to migrate to Europe, to the United States. This has caused a lot of problems for the infrastructure of these Western nations because they're having to import all of these immigrants from the Middle East. And again, there's no purpose. Iran, just like other Middle Eastern countries, other Muslim countries, some of them who are more fundamentalist by your standards, Islamically, than Iran, the U.S. has been able to normalize with them, normalize economically, diplomatically, and even militarily. Why can't that be done with Iran? It can't be done with Iran because Israel has to defeat Iran because they're the regional opponent to Israel. That's why there can be no deal made. That's why Iran can't have nukes. That's why Iran can't have ballistic missiles. Pakistan, another Muslim country, religious country, arguably more fundamentalist by your standards than Iran, they have nuclear weapons and they're normalized in their relationship with the United States. That's not a problem. Why can't that be the case with Iran? It's because Israel won't allow that. Israel has to have Iran destroyed so that they can maintain a kind of regional hegemony in West Asia and the Middle East, and pursue their Greater Israel project, which politicians like Benjamin Netanyahu explicitly say that they want. They want a greater Israel. They believe in the vision. I believe that's what Netanyahu said. They believe in the vision of greater Israel. And you have people like Smotrich, these high officials, or Ben Gvir, who say that they want greater Israel. They want to expand into Syria, into the Sinai, into Jordan, the West Bank, obviously. They want that. So this is something that this is a war for Israel. It's only for the benefit of Israel. And Americans are going to pay the bill for that, and they're going to suffer for it.
All right, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so once again, the America First guy loves to quote IRGC words and not American reports or media or anything like that. I find that very, very telling. So he said that 16 of the 17 sites have been completely destroyed. So actually, that comes from the IRGC, the Iranian state media specifically, where they actually said 17 of the sites have been completely destroyed. All actual other reports outside of the Iranian state media say that 11 of the 17 or 17 sites have been damaged, some more than others, but not destroyed. Now, again, I guess we can argue that the Iranian state media is the one telling the truth, but I just find it really weird how much you believe their sources. As for Israel, or fighting all these wars for Israel, Israel is the one that actually told us not to invade Iraq. In fact, one of the major reasons we invaded Iraq was actually from German intelligence. They found a defector who, now to be fair to the Germans, he did lie to them, but they interrogated this guy and he said that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. So that actual claim actually came from the Germans, who it was until after the war that they found out that the guy was lying. The Israeli media, or excuse me, Israel government. Now, to be fair, I'm not trying to pretend like they didn't like that. Of course, they didn't. They were not fans of Iraq or Saddam Hussein, but it was actually the chief of staff of the Bush administration who specifically said, and other officials as well, that Israel said, hey, look, Iran is actually the bigger threat, not Iraq, and we don't really recommend, although they're not going to go against it, but they don't really recommend invading. And when asked about the weapons of mass destruction from their intelligence, they said it's inconclusive, but they have no reason to believe that he restarted up the weapons of mass destruction program. So again, we actually got that information from German intelligence. As for why we should, actually, I'll go ahead and end it there because I want to try to start tightening up the conversation instead of having these like long-winded answers. So I'll concede the rest of my time.
All right, Daniel.
So the claim that this is our IRGC propaganda, that the bases have been destroyed. No, we can just look at the facts. We can look at the facts that there is no naval presence that the U.S. has anymore in the Persian Gulf because they had to evacuate. They had to evacuate because the naval base in Bahrain was destroyed. Like that's the consequence of destroying a base. You have to evacuate your forces from there. The fact that the most valuable fighter jets, the jets that are being used to bomb, the F-35s, et cetera, that are bombing Iran, they're not flying from the Gulf anymore. They have to fly in from Cyprus, from Germany, and the US Air Force has had to use these massive tankers in order to refuel mid-air so that they can reach Iran. Ideally, from the Air Force perspective, they'd like to have a base launch point either from one of these Gulf bases or from a aircraft carrier group, or aircraft carrier rather, but they can't do that. They can't do that because they can't come within distance of Iran because the bases have been destroyed. Their bases are being targeted and they can't even operate. So that's if you don't trust these IRGC reports, just look at the behavior of the Air Force and how they have relocated assets. And then you made another point that I forgot off the top of my head. But yeah, the main point that I'm making in this entire debate is that there's no reason why Americans should want to attack Iran. It doesn't serve any kind of benefit for them. You haven't mentioned a single benefit to attacking Iran, to being on the side of the US government, which is controlled and owned by Israel. You haven't made a single argument for that. And all of the downsides are there. All the downsides that I've expressed are there. Your arguments actually make no sense. Like your argument that, oh, they've killed Americans or they've been hostile to Americans. I've already addressed those. The Iranians were willing to negotiate. If you care about American lives, then you wouldn't advocate for a war. You wouldn't advocate for a massive war that has the potential to be far worse than Iraq. The Iraq war that cost America on the order of like $5 trillion to $8 trillion, depending on which estimate that you look at. Like, why would why would you want to attack a country that's far larger than Iraq, much more difficult to invade? You can't actually do a ground invasion in Iran because of its geography, and is much more populated, has more resources, and is more advanced technologically, militarily. Like, why would the US want? You'd have to have a very, very, very good reason to attack Iran. And there, you haven't presented that. No one has presented that because there is no
Let's
reason
let
for
him
that.
respond to that, Daniel.
So this is a false premise logical fallacy. So the idea that I haven't even mentioned that we had to do this some kind of major ground operation that's even close to what we did in Iraq into Iran is, I never said that. So I don't even know where he got it from. So I'm just going to ignore that. That being said, I want to point out that I did mention actual benefits, actually quite a few. And on top of that, I said I do not think that they should have a ballistic missiles program. I understand that you think that they should have that right because I guess Israel has it, so they should have it. I don't particularly care. That's not what the debate's about. Iran was never, ever going to stop enrichment or give up the uranium, which was Trump's red line. That was his red line. So you can say that they were trying to negotiate, but they made
his
it very
red
clear.
line. Oh, good point. It was his red line. Oh, that changes everything.
Yeah, of course.
They violated his red line.
Yeah,
I'm convinced.
Yeah, of course. When you're negotiating with someone, you're saying that they were in good faith because they were negotiating. Sure, but they were negotiating something that was nowhere near close to a deal. By the way, you said that it was reported that was close to a deal. Who reported that they were close to a deal? Who was that?
It doesn't matter who reported that. It doesn't matter.
They
were negotiating. When you're in the middle of the negotiation, you don't like secretly bomb the person that you're negotiating with.
So you're saying
there's many reports. So there's many reports that came, including the reports that you Western outlets that you cite. So you want me to go actually pull one up?
Yeah. So an article is not actually.
The article
will have the source. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the article will actually have the source. That being said, I know what you're talking about. This was not substantiated by anyone in the administration that they are close. They made it actually very clear that Iran would not sway on the ballistic missiles program. They made it clear that they would not sway in the enrichment. Now, I agree with you. They might have swayed on how much they can enrich, but that was a red line for President Trump. You can say you don't like that that's his red line. You can laugh at that, but that's the guy they're negotiating with effectively. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense to laugh at that because in the end, whether we like it or not, that is who they're negotiating with. So it's just it's ridiculous to point out like, oh, they were negotiating so and they were so close to a deal. No, they weren't. They made it very clear. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and Iran has to suspend their ballistic missiles program, which is very clearly being used in ties with their nuclear capabilities.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left in the open dialogue. So if you guys want to maybe try to give a little bit more tunnel vision in these last 5-6 minutes here on your main points on why you truly think the support should either be kept or maybe steered clear, as that's what you would suggest, right, Daniel?
Yeah, so look, Americans, I'm American, other Americans, we don't like the idea of a foreign entity dragging a country into war that has no benefit, has only costs for us and only benefits the foreign power. At the beginning of this attack on February 28th, there were many US officials, especially as things were going sideways, as the US realized that they couldn't just bomb Iran, take out Khamenei, and then win the war, the same kind of hubris they had in the Iraq War, the second Gulf War, where they thought a shock and awe campaign would be the end of it. And then the US is in a almost 20-year quagmire in Iraq. So they were trying to backtrack and they blamed Israel. Marco Rubio, for example, came out and said that, oh, well, we had no choice but to attack Iran because Israel said that if we don't attack, they're going to attack. And therefore, if Israel attacks Iran, then Iran will retaliate on our bases. And so why not we just attack Iran first? So he made it very clear, even though he didn't say explicitly that we attacked Iran for Israel, he made it very clear that the reason that this attack took place on February 28th is because of Israel's actions, Israel's decision to attack Iran. unilaterally deciding that. So this is not being a good ally to America. It's not being caring about America first or the interests of Americans. This is Israel first. This is for the benefit of Israel. Israel trying to be the regional hegemon and eventually the global hegemon, as it will have access to these major energy corridors at smack dab between 3 different continents. So this is not something that benefits Americans. Americans don't like to see their country and their leaders being pushed around by these Jewish supremacists, these bloodthirsty terrorists in Israel, and they're sick of it. And that's why the majority of Americans continue to be opposed to this war, and that number is going to go up. It's only going to increase. And that's what we can expect. It's going to be a disaster if what the indications are actually that the U.S. is preparing for another strike as we speak. So this is bad news.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Iraq was 8 to 9 years. I don't know why he said 20. That was stupid. Israel did this over and over is a false premise. He's been mentioning that. That's actually his major claim this entire debate and is yet to actually prove any of that. As for Marco Rubio, I can tell he saw the clip that people were posting on X and not the actual full interview, because 5 seconds after, where most people ended the clip, Marco Rubio specifically said, because he was actually asked, like, are you saying this is because of Israel, or did you strike early because of Israel's actions? And he effectively said no. What happened was that they got intelligence. It was cooperative intelligence, by the way. It wasn't just Israel's actions. And they had cooperative intelligence that found out that they were going to be doing meetings, and they were able, if they moved it. By the way, Israel didn't also want to attack during the day. They wanted to wait till that night or maybe even the next day, but they moved forward too. It wasn't like it was just the United States and just Marco Rubio saying that. It was also them, because they got intelligence, which we know to be true. It's not even like you can say that's not fair or that's not right, because we knew it to be true. That intelligence led to the death of not just Khamenei, but also many IRGC leaders. So that's what Marco Rubio said. Everyone, I challenge you to just go watch the entire clip. He says it right after, and there was also a follow-up interview where he reiterates it again. It's not because of Israel. So this idea that we're only in Iran because of Israel, again, he's made that claim the entire time, has not proven that whatsoever. And I get people on his side will just laugh and be like, of course it is, la, 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 of course it is. But it's based off of a false premise. We are in a debate. I understand it's online, but still, debate, we try our best to hold classical debate rules. This would be points taken away based off of a false premise. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the audience kind of scores it here.
Okay. That being said, to support is because it's going to have long-term effects that are in the positive direction for energy lanes that we've already seen the effect on, not like what Daniel said, like, oh, that's in the future, and they always promise that. To also frame this as it's going to be anything similar to Iraq is also ridiculous, and I would be the first.
Why would it be ridiculous? Why would it be ridiculous?
Yeah,
like,
sure, because
you're just like, why would it be ridiculous?
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so I served in the military for 12 years. We have completely different technological upgrades on how we fight warfare today. The drone program by itself is significantly different. If Trump were to come out, let's say even tomorrow, and he says, I want to do just like what we did in Iraq, and we're going to, stay there for, again, not 20 years, but 8 to 9 years, and we're going to send in hundreds of thousands of troops, I will be with you on that, Daniel. I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm against that personally. But we don't fight war particularly like that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think he's ever going to send some troops, like you mentioned about taking Karg Island, but the idea of trying to do it exactly like Iraq is ridiculous. And if he did come out tomorrow and said that, I will also equally say it's ridiculous. I'd be like, this is ridiculous. I don't support this. But there's nothing to actually point towards that. This is just your entire argument, the entire premise, this entire debate has been you forming them off of things you've never proven, that we're only here because of Israel. We're doing this for Israel. We're going to fight it like Iraq. Iraq was 20 years.
The basic premise, okay, the basic premise that I gave. So I gave a lot of evidence for how Israel,
right, like standing ovations equal control, right?
So yeah, don't interrupt me. I let you speak. So the basis of the primary logical basis is that if the United States makes a decision that is so destructive, catastrophically destructive for its own interests, for its own people, but benefits supremely another foreign entity, and that foreign entity has all of this influence through a massive Israeli lobby, through sexual Epstein blackmail. It is catastrophically because the Iraq war. Yeah, you want to know how much the Iraq war cost? $8 trillion. Yeah,
not what I'm
we
asking
have a
about.
basis. So there's something.
We'll give you
I
a
thought you were
chance to
scientist, okay?
rebut that real quick or ask questions, Nick. I'll give you a solid one more back and forth for each of you, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Well, I haven't finished my point.
Yeah, you still get to finish. Go ahead. Go ahead, buddy.
So all of this, okay, we can predict what's going to happen with this attack on Iran, just like we can on the basis of what we've seen historically with the attack on Iraq, the occupation invasion in the first Gulf War, second Gulf War, the occupation invasion of Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. Okay, all of these countries that have been attacked in the Middle East, they have not made Americans safer. Okay, they haven't made Americans richer. They have led to enormous costs, just constantly ballooning costs. And this, again, this is a dollar amount. This is not something that we have to guess about. 8 trillion total. That's the cap number, the top number that is given for the war on terror. And who has this benefited? This has benefited the Americans? No, it has not in any way. And it has really devastated the Middle East. The people, you have expressed absolutely no concern for the loss of life that is caused by endless wars in the Middle East, bombing girls' schools in Iran, bombing these sports complexes, civilian areas getting devastated, the kind of crisis that's being created in the Middle East as a whole because of this war, desalinization plants being hit and targeted. Like this is shaping up to be a ecological disaster because Israel's are also targeting some of these nuclear enrichment facilities and plants. So this potentially can be so devastating for people, loss of human life. You don't express any concern for that at all. You just have, well, Trump said this is the red line.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, sure. The reason thank you. The reason I don't express concern from that is because, unlike you, I'm sticking to the subject. That's just not what the subject is. But yeah, sure. If we have a further talk over coffee or something, sure. Yeah, I can get into that. But that being said, notice how he just did, because again, this is a debate. So I have to call them out. He did false analogy, logical fallacy. He also did hasty generalization. This idea that, oh, well, we have a premise, right? This is the faulty analogy. We have a premise that we can look to, so therefore I have to assume this one will be either the same or even similar, is a faulty analogy. If it is, then sure. In 10 years, you and I can talk, and I'll tell you you're right. This is also, like I said, hasty generalization. This is appeal to history. It's not worth answering because, again, it's a logical fallacy. So there's nothing I can say beyond you're just doing logical fallacies. This is emotional bullshit, actually, to be honest. That being said, he said there's no benefits at all whatsoever to America. I just talked about earlier the tens of billions of dollars that the empty oil tankers have come to the Gulf of America to get from us, including China. That is going into our pocket, and that's something that we'll see in the future as well. If these energy lanes are even halfway secured, that's something we'll see in the future as well. And on top of that, we will eliminate an organization, or at least severely weaken an organization that has killed over 1,000 Americans in just the past 2 years alone. 40 to 50 Americans. They have consistently targeted us. The very first year they went into power, they kidnapped Americans for 444 days, I believe it was. A few years after that, they bombed a Marine base, killing 241. And they've killed about 700 or so since then, and for a total of about 1,000, give or take, Americans. So yeah, it's obviously a benefit. Go ahead.
This is my last response.
Ideally, if it's something that's really, you guys need one more, I'll allow it. We went a little over the open dialogue time, but we'll get right into the questions now. We got a lot of super chats to get to.
Yeah, because he started the dialogue, so
yeah,
and finish. But yeah, so Iran, or the U.S. has killed far more Iranians than Iran has killed Americans. Again, if you are concerned about American life, then you would make peace. You would want to negotiate with Iran, not attack them. The appeal to human life actually works against you. Why can we use past events like, actually, that's a logical fallacy? No, this is actually how political science works. This is how you are able to analyze historical events or military action on the basis of what has happened historically, repeated patterns. It's not a logical fallacy, so don't use that kind of debate bro tactic on me. The fact of the matter is that Iran should be treated as a sovereign country. When the US attacks Iran, it makes, if we just want to go by the American perspective, it causes all kinds of economic problems. It's already causing all kinds of economic problems for the American people. It also depreciates the standing of America in the world, because America is increasingly seen as a terror state that just goes and bullies other countries, kidnaps their leaders, assassinates their heads of state whenever they feel like it on the beck of whim of this Jewish terrorist state. And that actually harms America in terms of our reputation. The fact that our country, America, is being controlled by a foreign lobby, that also depreciates the confidence that Americans have in their government, and that potentially can lead to riots. It can lead to more protests. We've already had devastating protests because of things like Black Lives Matter. And if economic situation gets much worse in the United States, there's definitely high likelihood of protests, devastating protests happening in major US cities that can burn major US cities to the ground. And Trump is only inflaming that. Trump seems to have no concern for actually appeasing people by giving them an economic break, by not starting this new war in the Middle East for Israel, because he's controlled. He's controlled by this Israeli government, by Benjamin Netanyahu, and this is a disaster. And ultimately, if you have a problem with Iran, oh, they're so radical, oh, they have to be taken out. Well, Judaism is a far more radical from that perspective religion. It is a religion, it's a culture, and it is a terror state. This is why they're devastating the people of the world, and they don't care if Americans suffer. They don't care if Americans go through poverty, because they want to establish their hegemony in the Middle East. And the only way to do that is to eliminate Iran. And they have this personal military service called the United States that's going to do it for them. Americans don't want that.
70,000 terrorist attacks since 2001 by Muslims, just FYI, 70,000. The Global Terrorist Index, all top 10, all top 15, actually, other than one, are all Muslim organizations. But yeah, no, Jews, for sure.
Yeah, how much financial fraud that led to the financial collapse was involving Jews that were convicted? How about the top?
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about terrorism.
How about that? How about the top?
Financial?
Yeah, how about economic terrorism? Yeah, economic terrorism
Economic
that actually
terrorism
affects all Americans when their houses are foreclosed. Yeah, it's a big laugh for you, huh? It's a big laugh when people lose their homes, when you had mass foreclosure. Yeah, yeah. Which racial group, religious group is at the head of financial terrorism, financial fraud? How about that?
I got you. Financial terrorism. I like that.
Are you guys ready to move into the Q&A?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Yeah, like IDF, Israel invented terrorism. Like, what are we even talking about?
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys not letting it devolve completely.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Habibi, MashaAllah. How many rakat in Sahih Bukhari? MashaAllah, Habibi.
All right, so you guys will both be able to respond to any of these.
Why it's so funny? Rakat means like a unit of prayer when you're praying. Okay, as a Muslim, it's not a unit of a book, like a chapter. So
when I said I don't know, that means I was correct.
Yeah, because if you read Sahih Bukhari, you'd know what a rakat is. You would know what a rakat is if you read Sahih Bukhari, you idiot.
Just debunked yourself. Guys, when I said I don't know, then I guess I was right.
Retard. You should know what a unit of prayer is. If you read 20 million hadith, you read 6 million hadith, bro. You read 6 million hadith? Wow. But you don't know what a unit of prayer is called in Islam? Wow.
All right, so polls up in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead reading some of the chats. If you guys could please try not to interrupt until you are answering the question. And first one, I'll just shout out real quick. Florida thank you for becoming a member on the final word level, and the White Boy SKCFW also for becoming a member on the debater. All right, so first chat question. That's not a question, but I'll read it real quick. Justin OMG sends $2, says, of course, he's pro-Iran. I believe that was Daniel. Unicorn Black since 5. He says, Daniel already scared to go first and debate Gaza, lol.
No, wait. Do we address what these comments are like, or is just going to read them?
Yeah, if it was a statement, I don't really ask you to. You're welcome to clarify what.
Yeah, no, I will clarify that I was pro in this argument. I was talking from the perspective of American people and American morality. So I wasn't specifically defending the IRGC or the Iranian government, but I was arguing from an American perspective and Western morality.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I didn't mean to just blow past it. I just don't want to focus too much on the statements necessarily. Trying to find you guys a question. But yeah, you're welcome to respond to any of them. Just be like, I'll respond to that. Otherwise, if you don't respond to me reading it, I'll just go to the next one. All right, King David says for $2, Haqiqatjou is an Iran agent. I imagine you want to respond to that.
Yes, are 60% of Americans Iranian agents too? 61% who, according to Pew Research, oppose this war.
And Nick, you're welcome to jump in. Let's just not get caught up too much in a back and forth. If you do,
I mean, it was given to my opponent, like it was accused of him, so he should respond, not me.
Well, this is definitely towards both of you guys. Daniel Pokemon name versus Nick Pokemon name. The showdown of the century from Hellstorm for 5. Jared,
can I ask actually, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Haqiqatjou. It's very hard to pronounce because of the qaf letter. It's like a kind of a
guttural.
Yeah, guttural. So Haqiqatjou. So if you pronounce it Persian, it's like Haqiqat, and Haqiqatjou. So
I made a video. And I was like, I made a video saying about the debate, and I was like, I don't want to butcher his name, but I just said Haqiqatjou because I thought that might be right. I don't know.
Yeah, that's close enough. Thanks for trying.
Yeah.
All right, Jared.
And your name is Matau, right? Matau is correct.
Yeah, I meant to actually clarify that for myself too, Nick. So thanks.
Actually, he got it right. 90% of people say Matau for some reason.
Matau. Got it. Yeah. Daniel, Jared Ferguson for 2 says, "Hey Daniel, please explain what a taqiyya is."
Taqiyya is the idea. It's usually associated with Shia Islam. The idea that if your life is in danger, then you're allowed to lie about being affiliated with the Shia. If your life is in danger. So this is often used to claim that if Muslims say something like, oh, we don't believe in mass slaughtering Jews and Christians, that we're doing taqiyya, that we're just lying about it. But that's not actually what taqiyya is. You're not allowed to lie about religious beliefs, especially when there's not like literally a gun to your head. And yeah, so it's like a kind of anti-Muslim trope that's used.
Understood. All right. Next one is from Unicorn Black for $2. Daniel, your lies about the Jews won't help you.
Well, I mean, I brought all the receipts. I even had screenshots from Sefaria, which is the authoritative Jewish reference for the Talmud and the Torah. So I screenshot it, and some of the screenshots even have the Hebrew. So you can go and I've presented this kind of information for over 2 years now. I did one in presentation at Queens College, actually. And there was a Jew, a very nice Jew in the audience. And she said, I thought that you were lying, but as you were talking, I was fact checking you in real time, looking up these quotes and these references. And you're right. You're not exaggerating anything. So as I said, like in the disclaimer that flashed in the screen, like before the debate started, that a lot of Jews reject these teachings. A lot of them. There are Jews who reject those teachings. They reject, like rabbis sucking the penises of little boys or babies. They reject the kind of rape as a weapon of war. They reject Israel as a state. So I don't have any problem with these kinds of Jews. It's just the rest of these radicalized Jews that believe in these tenets, or they just condone or they allow this kind of ideology to spread and to be weaponized in the state of Israel. That's the problem. The problem is the state of Israel because they're a Jewish state. Judaism is the religion that they're following.
Yeah, Nick, you want to take a sec?
Yeah, I want to point out, like in the Talmud, people saying like, hey, I was looking them up as you're going and fact checking. Again, the problem is that most people don't understand, even in Sefaria, when you actually look, there's going to be bolded words and non-bolded words. The bolded words actually come from the original. Like, for example, the verse that talks about Jesus Christ boiling in excrement in hell, it actually doesn't say that in the original with the Aramaic, Hebrew. It actually doesn't even say, well, first off, it doesn't say Jesus Christ anywhere, even in the English. It says Jesus of Nazareth, but it actually doesn't even say that in the original. It just says Yeshu. Doesn't even say of Nazareth. It doesn't say Jesus of Nazareth. It doesn't say Jesus Christ. It doesn't say any of that. But I agree, when you go on Safaria, because of added stuff from modern people, and it's not in bold, you might see something that says Jesus of Nazareth, which still wouldn't even mean Jesus Christ. It's actually a story about a necromancer raising 3 people, and the Yeshu figure, the third one that he raises, wouldn't actually even be in the timeline of Jesus Christ, which was around, most scholars say, negative 4 BCE, BC to 33, give or take. This one would actually be either the Yeshu that was part of Ben Pandera, a student, which was over 100 years, I believe, after Jesus, or it's talking about a philosopher, which was about 100 years plus before Jesus. So it's not even talking about the same one. And also, when you further go, it talks about how he was stoned to death, which Jesus Christ obviously wasn't stoned to death. He was
Let
crucified.
this be the last point. We are getting so many super chats right now. I'm afraid we might have to go above the 2
I just
to
wanted
the
to
5
point out
to
the
the 10s.
complexity of the Talmud. That's it.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I want to just really quickly want to rebut that. I didn't get the point about Jesus being Jesus Christ boiling in a vat of feces from just reading the Talmud straight up, even though if you read it, it's pretty clear who the verses are referring to in the Talmud. But I got from Peter Schaefer, Jewish professor at Princeton University, who wrote a book, Jesus and the Talmud, and he's the one who describes that, yes, this is about Jesus Christ. Yes, there is a burning hatred for Jesus Christ because he's seen as a adulterer who misguided Jews and drove them to adultery, or idolatry rather, and witchcraft, and his mother was a prostitute or adulteress. So that is coming from Peter Schaefer, Princeton University Press, Jesus and the Talmud, not just my personal reading of the book.
Okay. Now you did kind of answer to this one a little bit with the last one, but I'll just read it because he sent $10. AP the Revenant says, they don't call him Daniel Haqiqatjou for nothing. We already covered that. Every debate, regardless of the topic, comes back to, quote, the Jews. Can you do just one without saying it? Honest answer only, Daniel.
I have many debates that don't involve the Jews, but we're talking about the war in Iran, U.S. attacking Iran on behalf of Israel. So we have to talk about Jews. Isn't Israel the Jewish state?
I think that's a answer he's going to have to address, but I think he did send a couple more super chats, so we'll see what else he said. He did. Okay, he sent one right after that for $2. Said Daniel has still not made one argument for Iran. Those are back to back. Mind if I keep going?
Yep.
All right. Justin sends $10. He said Daniel's gonna get deported. Let's go. Bye.
Why would I get deported? Like, are they going to deport like 61% of Americans who oppose this war?
I just want to point out real quick, it's a little bit back, but just so everyone knows, so there's no misinformation here, Judaism is not the official state religion of Israel. I want to make sure that's clear for people.
Why do 79% of Israeli Jews want Jews to have preferential treatment over non-Jews, according to Pew Research?
Yeah, again, we can have a separate debate, but that has nothing to do with me correcting the idea that Judaism is not the official state. I don't know. I'd have to look at that research. I have to go ask them. I don't.
Israel is not the Jewish state. Israel is not the Jewish state, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
So Jews are an ethno-religion, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Judaism is, I'll say it one more time and then we can move on. It's very clear. Judaism is not an official state religion because that was said earlier in the debate. Just want to make sure people got that. It's not the official state religion. Yes, Jews are an ethno-religion. And so, yes, there are mostly Jews in the Jewish state. That is true.
So if Judaism is as an ethno-religion, and Israel is an ethno-state based on being Jewish, then by extension, Judaism is the official religion. So I'm not saying that in the Constitution it says we are going to follow the Talmud. Okay, yeah, they can be atheists. I know that. It's an ethno-religion. It's an ethnicity.
Right. So the idea of, okay, yeah, let's just move on.
Yeah. There could possibly 100% be several other comments where you get into that again. Especially this one right here. Halal Zoomer for $5 says, Shalom, Nick. Is it true you were about to convert to Judaism, but the rabbi said you're more useful as a non-Jew?
Yeah, again, so I have never once ever started the process of converting to Judaism. I asked a rabbi about my curiosity specifically, and no, he didn't just say like, don't do it because you it's better, I guess, being like a non-Jew and talk about this. And I'll actually mention more stuff that's probably not in that or whatever article. I've done multiple articles. I don't know which one you're talking about. He even said, though, that it would make sense because my wife is Jewish to convert because Jews should not intermarry, right? And so he actually talked about that, and he offered, this was a guy out of Australia. He wasn't my rabbi. I talked to him 2 times ever over Zoom. And he specifically said, like, if you ever want to start, I can start the process for you, or at least send you to somewhere that can. And I said, no, I'm good. And literally, and I never started the process. One day, if I ever do, you guys will be the first to know, but I've never started the process. And I also don't think it matters. Even if I was a Jew, an atheist, a Muslim, the arguments are still the arguments. They don't change just because I'm this religion or that.
Thank you for addressing that.
You identify as Noahide according to this article. Like we're referring to, like, I want to be fair to you, like maybe the article has misrepresented you, but this is from Israel Hayom. It's titled Nick Matau was a nuclear engineer, then he became a pro-Israel TikTok sensation. So there's like multiple articles, and you're interviewed.
Yeah, that's not even really right, because I was, even when I was still in the Navy doing nuclear engineering, I was talking about pro-Israel stuff. I've been doing it since 2021. I didn't leave the Navy until May 2023. So the article is obviously misrepresenting stuff. And also, I mean, the fact that I'm a Noahide literally means I'm not a Jew, because that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah. No, but it means that you're not a Jew, but you're a Jew who is respecting, because being a Noahide means that you follow these 7 Noahide principles that are defined by Judaism. They're defined by Judaism, and being a Noahide also means that you consider Jews as being superior. Like, to be a Noahide, you have to subsume yourself, subjugate yourself to Jewish conceptions of.
All right, guys,
Judaism.
we got so many more super chats to get.
I want to point out the Book of Genesis debunks all of this.
I want to be accurate.
The Book of Genesis debunks everything you just said.
Tell New Wayne House sends $5 and says, "Can we make Daniel actually talk about the topic? He always does this. He tries to run off a rabbit trail so he doesn't have to debate the topic."
Yeah, just because you don't like the fact that I brought up your God, Israel, and talked about Judaism and all of its beliefs and practices, that doesn't mean it's off topic. Who defines what is on and off topic? I gave you the explanation for why. I gave the explanation for exactly why it's on topic, why Americans shouldn't support an attack on Iran because of this relationship with Israel. I explained that. So you don't like the fact that Israel is involved, that Judaism is involved. Too bad. Too sad.
This one's also for you. Jared Ferguson sent another $2. Thank you for the support. Daniel, can you please explain what Al-Zut is?
Al what?
Al-Zut. I don't know. It's got 2 T's.
Yeah, Al-Zut. Yeah, this is perverted Jews and Christians who read their sexual fantasies into Islamic texts. So that's what it's about. Like, it's such a dumb meme, and like crypto Jews love it, I guess. So they laugh a lot about sodomy, because I don't know why, but it has nothing to do with Islam or the hadith. Like, it's a hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, talking to a group of people, and the hadith mentions, like, uses an Arabic phrase that the Zut people, the hadith uses as an Arabic phrase that they rode the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
As long as I don't get taken off of YouTube for asking that question.
No, it's something that these Christian and Jewish apologists for Israel constantly spam, and they find it so funny.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's that they rode the Prophet all night long, and that he was in pain the next day. That's actually what it says.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's so riding Yarkabun. So
well, let's just move it. Let's move it on a little bit.
So let's clarify. So it's an Arabic expression that means to ride, meaning that they were asking him questions, they're pressing for answers, and they kind of kept him occupied with that. That's all it means.
Okay,
but
thank you for clarifying.
Porn brain gooner. Okay, if you're a gooner like Nick here or some of these other Jews and Christians, then yeah, you're gonna read your gooning into the hadith. Like, that's not the fault of Islam. Like, if Christianity talks about the Holy Spirit penetrating into you, the Holy Spirit has penetrated. If I was a gooner brain like some of these Jews and Christians, I'd say, wow, okay, so the Holy Spirit is penetrating you. Wow, Jesus is literally inside you right now. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Do you need lube for the Holy Spirit? Like, that's the kind of gooner mentality that Muslims don't have, but Christians and Jews have it, because we know what they do in their bedrooms. So that's why they want to interpret that hadith in a pervert way.
All right, appreciate your perspective, Daniel. We'll move it on now. We got another. Let me see. Poll 2739. I was trying to figure out what that symbol is. I think someone told me it was shekels last time. It's like a two spirals or something going into each other. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that denomination.
Yeah, if it looks kind of like an N and like an upside N.
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah.
Yeah, it's shekels.
Okay,
You see a lot
I didn't know
that-
you could
a lot of that
send
symbol, Nick?
those until the last debate. Honestly, I saw that for the first time. Daniel Pivot debate, two Jews like always. Can we ask him if Quran came to correct the Bible, why Daniel isn't reading the Bible where it doesn't correct it? Like more punctuation. But that was poll 2739 for 15 shekels. Not sure what that translates to in American.
Oh, it's sent from Israel? Is that what you're implying?
I'm not sure. Is that where shekels are a currency primarily, I would assume?
Yes, Israel and
Yeah.
the Palestinian territories as well, because they don't
Okay.
have their own economy.
Well, just to go back and ask it again, it was to Daniel. Why did the Quran come to correct the Bible? Or if the Quran came to correct the Bible, why aren't you reading the Bible where it doesn't correct it? It's a little confusing of a question. Anyways, yeah, we'll move on. Justin O'Dizzle, since $5, says, should Americans support any Muslims in their country? How about that prompt? Or how about that prompt?
What was the
I mean,
question?
you can debate it.
Should Americans support any Muslims in their country? How about that prompt?
Any
Yeah, I mean, if you want
Muslims?
to, should America support any Muslims or should they be expelled?
I think that's what he's
the
asking.
gist
Yeah.
of what they're
I don't-
asking.
I don't think that people should just be expelled because they're Muslim.
Yeah, I don't think that Jews should be expelled just because they're Jews. Like, it depends on what they actually believe. Like, do they actually believe the Talmud, or they believe in like sucking baby penis? Like,
Yeah,
think
I
that's
also
what should
don't
be a
think
basis.
Muslims. I also don't think Muslims should be expelled if they believe in even some extreme values versus actions. If they take action against it, I think that's a different story. But I don't know, because then we can just say people believe what you think you're reading into, and then it gives you excuse to expel people. I don't know. That's
a slippery slope. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, Iskabir 1535 since $5. Thank you for support. Says DH and DM, good debate. Clarification: Rakat is a single circuit within Salat. Surah is a chapter in the Quran. There are 114 surah in the Quran. Does that sound accurate, Daniel?
It is 114.
Yep. Okay. Anyways, they just wanted to, I guess, tell everybody that. Max 2121 sends $2 and said, how old was Aisha when she got married? No question mark on that, buddy.
She was married at 6, consummated the marriage. The Prophet, peace be upon him, consummated when she was 9. Watch the many debates I've had on this topic. And, the people who ask these questions, like, they have no problem with the age of consent, actually, between male and female, or two males or two females being, in the 9, 10, 11, 12, if puberty happens and you're in elementary school and you want to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they don't have a problem with that. Like, that's why they have sex ed as early as 6th grade. And now in many, especially lib states, blue states, they have sex ed in kindergarten, because they believe in this kind of sexual freedom for, discovering yourself, even in elementary school. And they don't have a problem. They're not calling for the age of consent to be raised between like children or teenagers to 18, 19, 20. So they're fine with children having sex, even at the ages of 9, 8, 9, 10 years old. If that's when you go through puberty, that's when you want to experiment. They only have a problem when you bring marriage into the question. When you say that marriage, it should only be under married circumstances. That's when they have a problem. So this is a hypocrisy from Western liberals. And again, it's looking at Islam, not Judaism. Judaism, the Talmud in multiple passages says that intercourse with a 3-year-old is acceptable.
Okay, let's let Nick
just
respond to
real
that real quick, and then we got to speed through
First
these because
off,
there's so many coming
It'll be
in.
real quick. It'll be real quick. First off, I don't know anyone in America that is totally fine with 8-year-olds having sex, especially if it's with someone in their 50s. I don't know anyone, and if there is people that are okay with that, they're equally disgusting. And I like any Muslim to point to one that we consider a prophet and the most perfect man that 2 billion people consider to be a prophet. So even if you could point to one that was okay with that, they're not a prophet. Also, the Talmudic verse of the 3 years is specifically about the halachic status of a woman. It's not actually giving consent. The Rambam specifically says marriage and sexual relationship happen up to 18 years old. And it says in that Talmudic verse later that that person should be killed because of what they did. But it's talking about the halachic status because her hymen would go before 3 years versus after. That's what it says.
All right.
Yeah, false. Just Jewish propaganda. Talmud Nida 44b says specifically, explicitly, I read it. A girl who is 3 years and 1 day old, whose father arranged her betrothal.
Right,
You know what betrothal means? It means for marriage. Is betrothed through intercourse. Okay.
Right. Keep reading.
So, and then it talks about the halachic status. Okay, but that doesn't change that the intercourse is allowed. The intercourse is allowed. And the Talmud says that, or explicitly. So not only in Nida 44.
Well, someone's gonna have the last word, no matter
by the
what,
way,
on these guys. So
yeah, that's fine.
We got to move it on. John Ruck, thank you for the 2-month memberships, and they said thank you, MDD mods and debaters. That's you guys. USA for Jesus is God. Justin O'Dizzle sends another $5. No wait, that's the same exact question. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna read it twice. AP the Revenant sends $5, says the title is should the American people support the U.S. government or Iranian government, or as Allah made it appear so. Alham to Allah, common Daniel.
It doesn't. I don't know why there's such a big deal made like on your side about the title. Like on your side, it doesn't matter. Like either way, you're arguing for the Trump administration attacking Iran. Of course, you don't like the significance of the title is it's for me so that I'm not pinned into the corner of supporting the IRGC regardless. Like I'm arguing from the perspective of an American interest. That's what I limited myself to in that in this debate. So the difference for you is inconsequential. What the title actually is between support U.S. government or Iranian government or
sounds like we're all on the same page.
That's why
that now. Daniel does not. He's not.
Yeah, but you're making a big deal. Like you're making a big.
He didn't.
You're
leave
making
that
a big
comment.
deal as if like, oh, I completely like tripped you up. You did earlier in the debate. Earlier in the debate, you're making a big deal. Like, oh, I have to debate a new topic. No, it's the same topic as far as you're concerned.
All right, Amir the Cricket sends 15 shekels. Israel controls America again? Bring proof, please. Not claim that lead to nowhere. Proof number 1.
Shalom. Shalom from Tel Aviv.
All right, Messianic Maccabee sends $5. Sahih al-Bukhari 5134, quote, that the prophet married her when she was 6 years old and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. Okay, we did talk about that. Thank you for your support.
Now let's talk about the Metzitza B'pa. The rabbi sucking of babies. Let's talk about
for the sake of YouTube.
Oh, why do you know that so well? You know that so well. Were you expecting if you converted, you'd get sucked by a rabbi too? Sorry, man. Sorry. The rabbi is not going to suck you. That's for babies only. So if you converted, the rabbi wouldn't suck you. Okay.
Yeah.
I know it might be the same size as a baby's. It might be the same size as a baby's, but the rabbi is not going to suck you, bro.
Here comes the ad hominems. Anyways, I just know how to read. It's not knowing it so well.
It's only for babies. Only baby penis gets sucked, okay? By the rabbi, not adult converts. Sorry to break your bubble. Burst your bubble on that.
Not going to look great on here. All right, Pol sends another 6 shekels. Venezuela regime changed 100% secured oil to America. So that's just a statement.
What?
Geopolitically.
It's a statement or a question?
That was maybe you guys talked about Venezuela for a second before they sent that.
I don't remember.
I can't recall. Daily Breakfast 8545 sends $2. Let's go, Nick. Kuhn Upstate sends $5. All the USA, my country in parentheses, has to do is keep blocking Iranian oil, and that alone will topple the brutal Iranian Islamic regime.
Well, they can't block it because while they can try to get at the tankers that are coming through the Persian Gulf, there's other ways that Iran can transfer goods. They have land paths to China. They have land path. They have the Caspian Sea to Russia. They have a lot of trade through the Caspian Sea with Russia. So it's not just the Indian Ocean or the Arabian Sea that the U.S. would have to control to cut them off.
Q in Upstate sent another 5 immediately after that. It said, in Iran, it is legal for adult men to marry little girls as young as 10 years old. Now tell me you want to support the Iranian government. I dare you.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Islamic law. Okay, it's much better than American system or Israeli system where little girls and little boys are doing either fornicating with each other. You know, as soon as they get horny, they're on their phones, constantly consuming pornography and fornicating. Like that's allowed in these countries. In fact, the age of marriage in a lot of U.S. states is not even defined as a minimum. You can actually be a teenager and get married to a 50-year-old as long as you have parental consent in many U.S. states. I
Do
don't
you
have
think
the
that's
exact
wrong?
number.
Do you think that's
No,
wrong?
absolutely not. Absolutely
Okay,
not.
so
Absolutely not. Absolutely
you
not.
don't.
Oh,
Fair
you didn't
enough.
get me. You didn't get me, Nick. You didn't do your research. You know how many debates I've had on this topic?
I just found out you existed before, but it's fine. It's cool. I just want to
Yeah,
make sure
yeah.
you're cool with
Likewise,
that.
likewise. To
Wow.
20,000 hadith reader.
All right.
Yeah.
The Lion 7017 sends $5 and says, a Muslim being against war is funny. Being his so-called quote prophet started many wars.
Yeah, being a Jew, being in favor of genocide is not really crazy because that's what the Torah teaches. That's what the Talmud teaches. That's what the Mishnah Torah and the Rambam teach. Genocide, killing, you know, women and children as a religious obligation in these obligatory wars that the Torah and Talmud delineate. So
We got 1.6K in the chat. If you guys could please like the video if you thought this was a spicy back and forth. And there is a poll in there if y'all want to participate in that. Tickets to DebateCon 8 are for sale right now, link in the description. And one thing before we get to the rest of these, I would like to say one of our sponsors for the DebateCon 8 is... Back to the comments. AP the Revenant sends another. Wait,
you should read that with more enthusiasm, bro. Like
I was
the
thinking
sponsor.
the same thing.
I mean, I'm going to be saying it multiple times, so I wanted to not do it the same every time.
Dude.
Yeah, they're paying you. You gotta be, you know, more spicy with that ad. Yeah, Bob is really great. Bob is a really nice guy.
Yeah, Bob's cool. What did he say his nickname was? Sideshow. He was in the he was like a pilot or something in the Air Force.
Okay.
But yeah, apologies, Bob. I could have spurred out for you a little harder on that one, but I was gonna say it like 3 more times, so I didn't want to overdo it. Okay, AP the Revenant sends $5. It says Iran cannot have nukes because at the first provocation they attacked all their neighbors who didn't do anything. Outside the fact they fund proxies.
No, that's their neighbors were complicit in the strike on Iran. This has been admitted to by Pete Hegseth himself, and one of these generals that at a press conference thanked specifically by name these Gulf partners, including Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar. They thank them. Why? Because those bases were being used to stage the attack against Iran. And throughout the 40 days in that first wave or that first period of the war, they were using Saudi airspace and Kuwaiti airspace. This has been proven from flight trackers, and it's been shown that they've been complicit in the attack on Iran. So this is why Iran has punished them for that and retaliated in self-defense.
Nick, do you have a comment?
I mean, yeah, I think I would argue that they use proxy warfare, but to be fair, if we're talking, I assume they're talking about the Iraq-Iran war. I think to be fair, Iraq did attack first, but I'm not really sure exactly what the comment was referring to. But they do use proxy warfare and attack first all the time.
Israel uses proxy warfare all the time. Like they're trying to get the Kurds to attack Iran. Like Israel, you're talking about unprovoked attacks. Israel is unprovoked attacking all of its neighbors. That's its entire history.
Right, and if I already commented on where that source comes from, but even if it is true, that doesn't make my claim false. It's just, again, separating the conversation to try to go back to the Jews. It's irrelevant.
No, it's about Israel. It's about double standards. We have to have ultimate levels. Like proxies are bad for Iran, but with Israel, it's just fine. Ballistic
Yeah,
missiles are
again,
bad for Iran, but not for
okay.
Israel. So where's the double standard? Like that just comes across as
I didn't know
disingenuous,
the
unprincipled, irrational. Like that's the problem. Like
I
maybe you
didn't
don't
know the new
understand the importance of
title.
consistency.
I didn't know the new
The
title was double
consistency is
standard.
not
I didn't know.
important for you. Okay, fine.
There's
That's fine.
clearly a little bit of miscommunication between James and Nick. I guess if there was a title swap at the last minute, I appreciate you rolling with it, Nick. And yeah, I just got it yesterday as well, so I didn't know you guys weren't on the same page. So I'm gonna give some grace there. You rolled with it. You came out. You did it. So we're gonna move on here because we are getting a lot of comments. Surprisingly, they have not stopped. We got right here. We read that one. Just chilling late night. I can't even read the rest of that. Since $5, Nick, do you identify as a Noahide, and are you advocate of the Greater Israel, Genesis 15:18 through 21, and Zionism? Kind of touched on that in the debate a little bit.
Yeah, I do identify as a Noahide. Again, people who mention Genesis, I'd just point to you in Numbers, Joshua. So I'd have to determine if you're asking, do I think Israel should I'm gonna assume you're asking should Israel right now start invading from the Euphrates to the Al-Wadi River, which a lot of people get wrong. They say from the Euphrates to Nile. It actually doesn't say that in Genesis, the river of Egypt. No, I don't think Israel should start invading. Even if you had all 16 million Jews living in Israel, you couldn't even have that or occupy the land. So it just doesn't even strategically make sense. And no, I don't advocate for it. But again, if you read the whole Torah, you would know that it shouldn't just be stopped at Genesis. And yes, I do identify as a Noahide. I don't remember what the last question was.
Daniel, I know you want
What
to
do you think
respond. It was about Zionism, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm a
what do you think
Zionist.
about Huckabee's statement that they can take them all in that Tucker Carlson interview? They can take it all, Huckabee, whether he was accurately referring to the Bible or not, he said between the Nile and the Euphrates, said they can take it all. Israel can take it all. So what do you think about
quick answer to that, and then I'm gonna move on. We'll have to leave him with the last word.
Mike Huckabee is an individual. Great, cool.
Okay,
Here to debate my claims, not
AP
Huckabee's.
the Revenant sends $2. Operation Grim Beeper was a banger. No pun intended.
terrorism? Yeah. Terrorism is just a joke, I guess, if you're a Zionist. It's just a joke. It's just funny to just blow people up with their personal products. Yeah. I wonder what other personal electronics Israel has rigged for Americans. So Americans should be very worried. What if it's not beepers? Maybe it's some other personal electronic like smartphones that have been rigged with explosives. Israel has demonstrated their willingness to commit this kind of terrorism. So I think that's another reason that Americans should stop supporting.
Everyone knows
wars
those
in the Middle East.
smartphones that Israel sells, right? Just like how they sold those beepers. Everyone knows Samsung is not.
Those weren't Israeli beepers.
Israel created the company and sold it to Hezbollah.
And sold it under different. How many Jews own a lot of these big tech companies or electronic companies?
Israel, now it's just Jews.
Okay, so that's another
topic. The topic was always about Judaism. Yeah, didn't you hear my opening statement?
Yes, we could set that up to be more specific.
It was always about
the technology aspects. And
you think I cuck on that? Sorry, I'm not cucking on that.
Notelicopter.
It's a Jewish supremacy problem. It's not just Israel. Yeah, that's right.
I had to mute you for a second. If this next one two are for you, I'll ask you to unmute. Notelicopter sends $10, says at mods, you embarrassed to be platforming Dan. I think everybody should be allowed to submit their argument to the table and have it challenged if someone wants to do that. No one should be left in an echo chamber or on either side. So that's my answer to that.
I back that for sure.
Boopity Boop sends $5. Nick is the best debater. No one can beat him. All right. Thank you. Elon Redagorski sends 15 shekels. It's embarrassing that Nick has to even debate someone like Daniel. Daniel's a clown. He can't even stay on topic. Even now he moves to
all these shekels coming in. Yeah. All these shekels are just pouring in. Get the shekels, guys. He's a Noahide. He believes that you're supreme. He believes that you're superior racially and spiritually.
I'm going to look up the conversion rate here after this next question.
It's about 3 to 1. Trust me, I know. I get $7,000 opposed.
The shekels is
3 shekels for $1, give or take.
Okay, got it. Okay, Famo7503 sends $5. Nick, if Hamas was confirmed to be operating out of a hospital in Tel Aviv, would Israel obliterate it the same way it did to hospitals in Gaza? They wrote that in a way that I did the part on accident. Actually, that was good.
I mean, if they like kind of occupied the entire area to where a ground invasion would actually be dangerous to the IDF, yes. But my guess is in your weird scenario, somehow Hamas made it all the way to Tel Aviv, but nowhere else, and they were just in a hospital. No, I doubt it. But that's just a completely different scenario. So I don't know, depending on what your question is.
How much longer, Mike, for the question?
Depends how quickly you guys answer each of these. I'd say another maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes max.
Okay.
If we can keep the responses as quick as possible, we'll get through them for sure. So a couple people sent some big ones, so I just want to mainly make it sure we get to those. We got another from Famo. Nick, why is Israel, with its genocidal and baby murdering history, allowed to have nukes, but Iran no? I do believe this was one of Daniel's points.
Yeah, this idea of like allowed or not allowed to is just about what is. It's countries that do or don't. The non-proliferation idea is a thing, and it's increasingly becoming more of a thing in more modern history, and it's just a matter of whether they want to or not. But this idea of allowed to or not, there's no like authority that says you're allowed to and you're not. There's just people that in some cases are stronger and some that aren't.
Fair enough. Okay, Dylan Martin sends $2. Nick, what is the interim agreement in Oslo 2?
Well, Oslo 2 itself is an interim agreement, so I'm not really sure what he means within Oslo 2. It was in 1995 Oslo 2, and it was supposed to be about a 5-year or so interim, and it went into Camp David. And I know you want me to keep this quick, so I'm not going to go into that. People can just look it up, but that itself was an interim agreement, so I'm not really sure what the question is.
Okay. Note Lecopter sends $10. How terrified, mad, angry does Daniel look right now? Why do you think he feels the way you perceive him to feel?
Yeah, maybe I need to get a diaper like these IDF soldiers, and
I don't know exactly if
yeah,
they
wear
were
a
talking
diaper
chat
and
for you.
I
don't know if that was to all
they're
of
talking to
chat,
me.
basically.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can answer to it, obviously, not how you did, but
No, I was just being snarky. I was just being a jerk like I always am.
AP the Revenant, thank you for all the super chats, AP. Sends another 5, says, come on, Nick, you got to let Daniel down easy. He wore his best dress to debate you tonight.
He needs to get like a better comment at $5. Like, it's a pretty lame comment.
That's entirely self-inflicted. If you want to say more,
so
you can.
Trying to...
Hot Libertarian for $5 said, I would like to know if Daniel thinks it should be legal in America to marry 6-year-olds since his prophet did.
Well, like I said, I had an entire debate on this topic, and I argued for that case. I argued that you have to have marriage, you have to have a consent from the parents. This is argued, and this is the historical reality in America itself, in Europe, in the entire world, according to all religions, all traditional religions, including Judaism, including Christianity. The age of marriage in Christianity, according to canon law, was 12. According to sources within like early apocryphal gospels, that Mary was actually 12 years old when her son forcefully impregnated her with himself. So this is part of Christian tradition. This is part of Judaism. It's part of even beyond the quote unquote Abrahamic faiths like Hinduism, Buddhism. They all have this kind of marriage at puberty. And puberty can be as early as 8 years old, 9 years old. So this is something that when you don't have marriage, when you don't have that outlet, those 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, they start fornicating, they start going to pornography, they start going into all these degenerate habits that is very destructive to society. It also leads to a lot of child molestation. It leads to a lot of teachers who are molesting children. It leads to
we do got to get to the next couple questions here. I appreciate you.
Well, they keep asking, so they want to ask.
I think you touched on it.
So if you don't want to hear that
times.
answer, Mike, if you don't want to,
I just want it a little quicker.
Don't ask the question. Like, don't read those super chats over and over and again.
I'm just saying a little quicker. That's all. I do appreciate you engage with it though. That's respectable. Pol sends another 6. Most Muslim immigrants are not from war zones. That's just a statement. You want to say anything to that?
I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah.
No, I think that's the explosion in immigration from Muslim countries is due to the war on terror. It's due to countries, all these countries being in a state of turmoil because of Israel's actions.
AP the Revenant continues with, you might want to get a refund on that degree, Dan, and that's not at all what Marco said. Stop lying.
Go and watch it.
All right. Note to Kelly, note Lil Copter sends another 10. Thank you. Nick is destroying Daniel because the Zionists set Daniel up. Do you agree or disagree?
Are you asking me, or
I think they were again
I don't know.
talking to chat. I don't know. They got 32
Oh,
comments
okay.
from the chat on that, so that might be the case. But if you'd like to say anything to that, Daniel, or I
Nope.
can move on.
Nope.
Cool. Chef Secret Sauce Nasty, welcome back, sir. You're in here often. Since 5. Yes, this bugs me. Matt hates pizza. Did you know you can take any food you love and make it into a pizza? What's your favorite pizza, guys? He asked that to every debater on the channel. I don't know if he's building a list.
My favorite pizza, I really like barbecue chicken pizza. For some reason, I like barbecue sauce on a pizza, but I also like just the cheese, regular cheese. If you're asking about, like, I don't know, places to order, there's halal pizzas that are really good. So I get barbecue chicken, or halal pepperoni is really good. Yeah, these are some of my favorites.
I actually think that's probably maybe not my favorite. That's pretty base. I think barbecue pizza and buffalo chicken pizza is actually pretty good away from the traditional, like, tomato sauce. But I like either cheese or maybe mushrooms with cheese.
Yeah,
Right
that's a
on.
solid
Just
choice.
no pineapple. Just no pineapple on
A
pizza.
lot
I
of
am
people
Italian,
against the
and that freaks
pineapple
me
on
out.
pizza.
Yeah, no.
Hot
I
libertarian.
ate it one time. It just tastes like chicken. The pineapple takes like a savory flavor, not sweet. It's weird.
The
When
heat.
the pineapple touches the cheese or something, it takes on a savory flavor. It was weird. I was so surprised when I tried it because it sounds disgusting, but I actually kind of liked it.
Pizza can be
Yeah.
very polarizing. AP the Revenant, another 5. I would like to point out he has not made one pro-Iran point in this debate.
Great comment.
Hot libertarian sends $2 says, did Jesus marry a child? No, but Muhammad did. You've just addressed that 3 times.
The situation with Mary was just so much more extreme. Like, Jesus raped his own mother when she was 12 and impregnated her with himself. It's shocking.
Yeah, I'm not Christian, but that's just disingenuous. There was no sex,
Why?
so he couldn't have raped her. That's not. Do you know what rape
Impregnated
means?
impregnated her forcefully.
I agree. I agree. There was impregnation, but you said rape. That's not what rape means.
Okay, well, force by certain standards, like if you look someone the wrong way, it could be rape. You rape them with your
No,
eyes.
it can't. No, it can't. That's just a leftist talking point
Yeah.
that I'm sure you and I both disagree with.
All right.
I think forceful impregnation is pretty close to, what's considered to be rape, actually legally. If you like sneak some semen into someone without their knowledge, that would be considered rape. Yeah, of course.
The Lion 7017 says,
This is my analysis of the Christian theology of Jesus, by the way. As Muslims, we love and respect not only Jesus, but Mary. This is Christian theology that I'm criticizing and lampooning because these Christians want to keep insulting Islam. So we have to respond in kind.
The Lion 7017 for $10 says, Daniel, you are right. It is a waste of time for the USA to be in the Middle East. Islamic countries have never and will never be democratic or free. We stay here and Islam can stay over there.
Yeah, when is the United States going to be free from this kind of Israeli lobby and this kind of Jewish supremacy? That's my question. If you're American, that's what you should care about.
Daniel Popol, another 15 shekels. Daniel's idea of America First is to ally with Ansar Allah to get free GAT and women in black trash bags and zero technology. He made a video on that.
Yeah, I'm sure that was it. How's the bunkers in Tel Aviv, by the way? I was like being in the bunkers for 12 hours a day, but intermittently, like every 2 hours, you have to jump into a bunker. Was that really fun? Bet you had a lot of fun with your
people in the
there.
chat are telling me they can change their VPN on their phone to Israel, and it auto converts this to say it's in shekels. So I don't know if they're doing that to troll now.
Well, they're all like pro-Israel comments and anti-Iran comments. So
I've seen a lot of pro Daniel comments as well. Don't worry if you go back. There's a lot of disparaging comments about the moderator, that guy.
modern day debate is like such a Zionist platform. It's like shocking. Like
I'm
I'm
not a
used to it.
Zionist,
I
and I'm
get
not involved
flamed.
in these
No,
types
I
of
know you're
politics.
not. You're not. I know. I'm not accusing you, but I'm talking about like the fan base. So just a lot
Yeah.
of that's just the I'm just pointing that out.
Mina5S sends $10 and says, "Low IQ individual. Great job, Nick, for wrecking him." Illmatic Adam 6108.
I like more questions. So if I'm gonna stay here, like,
They
just
said,
for you to
they
read,
said the
like,
money, so I'm just trying to get it. So, but what I could do if you are on a time limit,
so only like
is
just prioritize the questions, and then I'll leave. Like you can, after I'm gone, you can read as many of these, comments from Tel Aviv as you want.
We did get a question here for. Let me read some of the larger ones that I'll prioritize. Man, stop. Okay, question for Daniel. What is the proper burial ritual in Islam?
Proper burial ritual is that the body has to be washed. It's called ghusl. And then, after that washing, it's like a full body wash with ghusl. Then there's a kafan, which is a white cloth that is used to wrap the body. And then the body is placed into the ground, facing towards the Qibla, which is Mecca. And there's a janazah prayer actually before that happens, before that body actually goes into the ground. That's the basic outline of burial.
Thank you for that. Here's another one for you. For Daniel, you seem really passionate about the IRGC support. Could that be because you have family in Iran, like maybe a cousin? That was from Nerd in the Ring for 5.
Yeah, I have family in Iran, of course. So yeah, I don't like to see Iran or any Muslim country being bombed, whether it's by the U.S. or by Israel. So yeah, but I am Iranian. Like I was born in the United States, but both my parents are from Iran. So I was a critic of the Iranian government. But that's another impact. Like if the U.S. really wants to get democratic change in Iran or any kind of popular movement in Iran, like the worst thing that they can do is bomb the country, because that just rallies all the public in favor of the Iranian government, rally around the flag effect. So the bombing is just counterproductive from every single perspective.
All right. Unicorn Black sends a big $50. Thank you. And I do believe you addressed this, Daniel, but he says it's clear Daniel is IRGC first. Sad, very sad. I wanted to read that because he sent 50 for the statement.
IRGC, like a lot of Americans are actually non-Muslim Americans are rooting for Iran. They're rooting for Iran. They are tired of seeing Israeli terrorism. They want to see someone stop Israel from just bulldozing through the Middle East. Like they're devastating southern Lebanon right now as we speak. They have the intention to really acquire the West Bank, and the settlers are getting increasingly violent. We're seeing all kinds of terrorism being conducted in the West Bank. So people are tired of Israel, like even if they don't care for Iran at all. Maybe they even hate Iran, but they still, like, Israel is so detestable that they want Iran to win. That's the reality.
Okay. AP the Revenant said, but by your logic, Allah and Gabriel did the same thing to Mary because your Quran says the same thing. Refute that, Daniel.
Yeah, but we don't believe that Jesus is God. So yeah, God can create, Allah can create human beings without parents. So Adam was created without a father and a mother. Eve was created without a father and a mother. She was created from the rib of Adam. And then you have Jesus, who was created also without a father. So that's something that God can do. What makes Christian theology particularly repulsive is that Jesus is God. And Jesus is God. And Mary was 12 years old, according to these Gospels, when she was impregnated. So she was impregnated by force. She didn't consent, by her own son. So this like incestual child rape. statutory rape if you have a problem with like the idea that there's no physical. So
I've read the Christian Bible as well. There is no gospel that says she was 12 years old.
yeah, it's apocryphal. I said apocryphal at the beginning. So it's a historical source. So Christians might not accept
You
that
said according to this Gospels.
According to this gospel, Gospels can be apocryphal or canonical. I don't know if you know that. You're a Noahide. So apocryphal Gospels are still historical sources that non-Christians can use to cite as evidence for the fact that according to that particular gospel, she was 12 years old.
All right. I got 3 comments here. I'm going to read all 3 of them to get them because they're all from the same person. And first one's question. Rachel Wilson sends $20 and says, Daniel, do you still think first cousin marriages and donkey pull cart societies are superior? I believe this is Andrew Wilson's wife.
Just get over it. Just get over it. Rachel Wilson, like you're at that debate, Mike.
Yeah, I was.
Like,
that was
you're still asking, like you're still like coping about that, like a year later. Like, get over it. Yeah, of course, I still support first cousin marriage. Like, what's the problem? Like that's, and you had Christians themselves, like other Christian apologists, saying that Daniel won that debate because Daniel's right. The Bible does not prohibit cousin marriage, and there are many Christian sects on the Orthodox side, which Andrew Wilson claims to be, and his wife claim to be Orthodox Christian. I don't know if they have gone out of that, but according to some Orthodox sects or Orthodox aligned sects, that side, they do cousin marriage. They accept cousin marriage. So it's not just Muslims. Sorry, that was a retarded argument from your husband, but get over it. It happened last year.
Second comment from her was, and thank you for the support, Rachel, another 20. Daniel, how are you going to criticize Jewish subversion when you admitted in your debate with Andrew that the Muslims' plan is to outbreed Americans until you can take over?
I never said that was America's or Muslims' plan. I said that's what Muslims just happen to be doing because Muslims actually have stronger marriages and family values that lead to higher fertility rates. And it's not just Muslims, you know, you have many traditional groups like traditional Christians or Jews rather, traditional Jews, the more religious sects like the Hasidim, they also have higher birth rates. So people who accept the secular standard and these liberal values of marriage and sexuality, they're going to die off. They're going to die off because they cannot maintain a population replacement birth fertility levels.
Okay, we got one more from Rachel, and then I'm going to read Funkier Mint's comment. She said for another 20, thank you. Daniel is wrong. Orthodox Church tradition holds that Mary was 15 or 16, not 6 years old, and we do not believe that Christ impregnated the Holy Virgin with himself. No fornication was involved. Stop lying and blaspheming.
Well, I just said the facts. Okay, Jesus impregnated his underage mother with himself. What would I say there that is contrary to what you believe as a Christian? And if a son impregnates his mother, is that not incest? Like, is that not like in some conception incest? Incestuous, maybe incestuous. So I mean, that's your theology. If you're so offended by it, then leave Christianity. And she was like, oh, she was 15 years old. Okay, that makes it really different.
Okay, let me find Funkier Mint's comment real quick. Just give me a couple more minutes, Daniel. We'll get through a lot of these. Funkier Mint sent 20 says, Daniel, in your 5v1 debate with me, you admitted that given the ability and mean, Iran would and should oppress Christians in the U.S. Why are you here saying they are not our enemies?
I said Iran should oppress Christians in the U.S. Was that what you said?
That was the claim.
Is that the comment?
Mm-hmm.
When did we talk about Iran?
Given the ability and mean, is what he said.
When did we even talk about Iran in that 5v1 surrounded? Like that was about Islam, not about Iran or geopolitics.
You just answer now. Do you think Iran should oppress Christians in Iran?
Depends on what you mean by oppress. Like if you mean pay jizya, yeah, they should pay jizya and they should not have the same rights as Muslims. I don't believe in absolute religious freedom. I think that the idea of religious freedom is just a liberal construction that has no actual meaning. in secular countries, the belief system and worldview that is legalized and imposed on the public is a atheistic, secularistic, materialistic worldview and belief system. That's also imposed, and we have to pay jizya to that system. We have to be second-class citizens as Muslims, Christians, or Jews to that system. So no religious person, especially not a Christian, especially not a Muslim, and certainly not Jews, should be in support of like this kind of secularized imposition, being a dhimmi for the secular system. So as a Muslim, I prefer that Islam be the law of the land for Muslim countries. And if Americans converted to Islam, they accepted Islam on the basis of what they understand of it, then that'd be great. I'd be happy about that.
Okay. Bless My Vibe Code sent $10 and says, I don't agree with Mr. Pikachu in supporting Iran, but I also don't support the U.S. government under any administration. Government is evil and tyrannical. They need to shrink the FedGov to a pin size. You change your name, bud?
Pikachu?
First,
I mean, again, these are these are not, they're like insulting me by saying that I dress nice and that I'm, my name sounds similar to a beloved character in this Japanese cartoon. Like, these are not hurting my feelings, guys.
That's the way to deal with most insults right there. I think it's the right attitude. Okay, a couple more for you. Let's see. Wait, this one's for Nick. Robbie Hatmaker sends $5. Nick, do you think the right wing has been infiltrated by Dawa lies and that has been shifting the base towards anti-Israel?
I think there's obviously an infiltration. If you want to know more about that, to keep it quick, you can read the 100-Year Plan by the Muslim Brotherhood. We're about halfway through that. However, I make it pretty clear in my lives that I believe leftism to be a more direct threat today, at least, than even Islamist attitudes or infiltration, if you will.
Like, how can you not ask about like this questioner, like about infiltration of Israel, like Zionist influence? Like when you have literally all of these major US politicians and presidents literally going and kissing a wall. Like, do you think it's Dawa? Is Dawa that's influencing the right wing? Because you have Donald Trump going to Mecca and like kissing the black stone. Like, is that what's happening? Or is he going to Jerusalem and kissing the wall? Like, this is nonsense.
I don't think politicians are forced to go to the wall and kiss it. People do that because they have a respect for it. If Mamdani does the Hajj and goes to the Kaaba,
he's Muslim, so he's Muslim.
Right?
Yeah, he's Muslim. He does it as a Muslim. Trump is not Jewish. Obama is not Jewish. George Bush is not Jewish.
A lot of Christians love Jerusalem as well. It's not just a Jewish thing, but okay, whatever. Let's just move on.
Yeah, it's just out of love. Yeah, they just love, to do these religious rituals because these guys are so religious. Donald Trump is known for his religiosity, I'm sure.
So this one's actually probably the only comment that I've seen like this. Even Lord 7825, shout out, he's commenting on here, sends $5. Nick is an up-and-coming debater, and Daniel is an intellectual heavyweight. While I have a different opinion, you're both high-class debaters.
Thank you.
See, that's
Appreciate
get more comments like
comments.
Oh,
I'm a low class.
Oh, the controversy
I like
continues.
rolling around in the mud. Yeah, I like rolling around in the mud. I like,
Okay.
I don't think he called you low class.
Maybe Nick is more.
Yeah, I think that was a compliment.
I know. I'm just saying that. Yeah, he's complimenting me. I appreciate it.
He doesn't want to take the compliment. Okay. I know you answered this already, Daniel, but Flavius did send $50 to ask Daniel, explain to us the concept of taqiyya. Be honest, as if it were a member of your faith. As if we were a member of your faith. Be honest for once. And then it's Arabic, if possible. It's Arabic text, and then if possible.
Yeah, let me explain like taqiyya in a way that American audience will understand. Like taqiyya is basically when you're a American politician and you're getting like all of these benefits from Jewish donors, from the Israeli lobby, like you're taking these paid trips to Israel, like you're going to Epstein Island, you're getting wined and dined, and then you come out and you say that, oh, Israel is not controlling me. Israel, I care about America first. Like that's taqiyya. That's taqiyya. Like that's a good analogy for
I thought
what
you said
taqiyya
earlier
is.
taqiyya was just to save your life and say you're not Muslim if you're alive. Now you're saying taqiyya is to lie? Because you said earlier the opposite.
Yeah, my response was actually sarcastic. I don't know if you picked up
Okay.
on the sarcasm there.
It was
So
a Freudian slip.
Snarkasm. Okay. Yeah, AP the Revenant says you do realize for $2 you could pay. You realize you can use a VPN to change your dollar dono. Yeah, I did see other people commenting that earlier.
so
And
why would they do that? That's my question. Like, why would you go to the trouble
troll. Why
of
did they
making
tell
your
me the
donation
audio's?
shekels?
Why would they tell me the audio's not working when it is every single time? And the
That happens
Roven,
every
have
time
these
I go
scientists.
live on
Since
YouTube. I think that's just a glitch, honestly.
and the Roven sends $5 says Daniel is legitimately confused about the moral difference between Hezbollah, Hamas, the IRGC, etc., and the West. That's it. That's the comment. Well,
Yeah, well, Israel is not part of the West. The United States, okay, the West. How many millions has Hezbollah killed? Because last time I checked, the U.S. war on terror led to 4.5 million direct and indirect deaths. And there's also studies on how many deaths are caused by sanctions, economic sanctions that America puts on its ideological and political enemies. And millions, okay, tens of millions actually have been killed over the past 5 decades because of US sanctions. So you're right. Mass death and destruction is definitely a Western product, no doubt about it. We shouldn't compare Hezbollah to, the heavy hitters. Hezbollah and Hamas, as you said, we shouldn't compare them to the heavy hitters of terrorism and mass death.
okay. J Bell Selko won since $2 says was Muhammad the most perfect man? Question mark. And chat, just so you know, I'm going to read all the comments. I'm trying to find the ones that are most suited for Daniel to answer because he is on a little bit of a time trying to get out of here. But I will play the outro and I'll come back and I'll read every single comment that I didn't get a chance to read. So don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he was the most perfect man, and he's a model for our times. Like he's a model for, all time, but he's definitely a model for our time because we're in a period of mass confusion. People are in need of guidance and they need a role model. Jesus did not provide that kind of role model that we need. Why? Because he was a god, according to your Christian theology. And also, he didn't attain any kind of political power. He didn't get married. He didn't have a family. He didn't raise children. Whereas Muhammad, peace be upon him, he actually was a living, breathing person who had a family, who got married, who was a head of state, who was leading wars, who was managing an economy, implementing criminal punishment, all of these things that we are having trouble with in the modern world, massive trouble, where we're increasing in all kinds of social harms, personal harms. Marriage is declining, gender roles are completely confused, all these things that Nick would probably agree with. We need an example like the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he was one in a long line of prophets that included Abraham, Moses, Joseph, and Jesus. And so they're all excellent and models in their own ways. And Muhammad was the seal of all those prophets.
Okay. We got $2 from the Canadian Zionist. Dan, how much of the Talmud have you actually read?
Yeah, I read the part about having sex with 3-year-olds. I read the part about how there's no like punishment for raping non-Jews. There's no punishment for stealing from non-Jews. Like Jews don't have to pay back loans from non-Jews. You don't have to pay back or pay wages for non-Jews. I read the parts about Black people being cursed, God cursing Black people with black skin. I, read the part about non-Jews not being called man. Only Jews are called man. These are the parts that I've read. It's actually quite a bit. Read the part about Jesus boiling in a vat of feces. Another narration or another part of the Talmud says semen, a vat of semen. So yeah, I've read a lot. I've read quite a bit of the Talmud actually.
All right. Blue Moon 98, 2 since $4.99. Daniel, how much USA taxpayers spent on saving you, your family from Islam, Iran? Did you ever calculate it?
My parents weren't saved from Iran. They migrated to Iran well before the Islamic Revolution. So in 1979. So Iran at that time, when they migrated, was under Reza Shah, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, and it wasn't the Islamic Republic. It wasn't theocratic. It was a government that was actually, well aligned and had a good normalized relationship with the United States and Israel. Mohammad Reza Shah was a big fan of America and Israel and the West. So that's when they actually migrated. So
okay.
Anyway,
the guy.
I think that's good for me then.
All right, one last one.
Not
This
really
is
related to the topic.
This is the guy that said the earlier question about the 5v1. Funkier Mint sent $10. Says, you brought it up in your topic. Christians have a victimhood complex. Maybe MDD will put the video out soon.
Yeah, the topic was victimhood of Christianity, but why is that related to Iran?
Yeah, that's what
he said in his earlier comment that I claim that Iran should come and take over America. I don't recall ever saying anything like that or thinking anything like that. So I don't know what he's referring to.
All right, man.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving us the time.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Nick, did you want to stick around and answer any super chats? You got to go. You're muted, man. Hello?
Yeah, he's muted.
Sorry, sometimes I accidentally click that button because it's just like a touch screen. Anyways, I said I pretty much blocked off till 10 p.m. Because I know these sometimes go over a little bit. So if there's super chats for me to answer, I'll stay and answer whatever you want.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Daniel, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming out and debating.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, signing off of this.
All right. Let me fix this. All right, chat. We'll be right back after a 2-minute break, and then we'll answer the rest of those super chats. And I apologize for the ones that were directed at Daniel. I was hoping he can give us some more time, but try to get the biggest and the most important ones that had the biggest donations, associated, answered first. And I will read all of them. So we'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, welcome back. We both had to take a quick restroom break after 3 hours of debating. You know how it is, and moderating. Let me see if I can put a side by side on Zoom here. I don't know why it does this. There we go. Cool. I'm gonna read the rest of the comments. You guys deserve it. And you know, some of them aren't obviously gonna get answered by Daniel if they're related to it, but just want to make sure we do it. Okay. Life in HD says Big Mike taking a Crimson Desert break. I'll never beat the allegations. Okay, so I left off before I had to skip around a little bit. I'm going to read them back in sequential order.
Okay.
Yeah, the YouTube fan funding thing doesn't allow me to organize them by amount for some reason. That would be 10 times easier.
Yeah, I do the same. I multi-stream on YouTube, and you're right. It would be nice if it was like that.
All right, so we ended right here on the lion. So we stay here as long as we stay over there. All right, Poll 2739 sent 15 shekels and says, Daniel's idea of America first is to ally with Ansar. No, I did. I think I read that one. Yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, you read that one.
Okay, Mina 5S, $10 says, low IQ individual. Great job, Nick, for wrecking him.
Thank you.
Illmatic Adams 6106 sent $5. Let Nick debunk what Daniel said about Judaism.
Yeah, I
debunk
mean, to make it like somewhat quick, because I know you have to. It's just again, I've looked into these Talmudic verses. Again, it's a lot of the times of the Talmud with the mission of the Gemara. It specifically says right after where people stop reading that the Gemara challenges and different rabbis, Yonatan, for example, when talking about like what it means for a man, and it literally says because there's like one verse that says. It is said that a non-Jew studying Torah should be killed, but it says immediately, and people stop right there. For example, says Yonatan, I believe his name was, rabbi says that it's actually, they're like a high priest, and they actually come to the conclusion in the sentence after that that is actually what it means. And so, and also he said, like, as a Noahide, I believe in this idea about like all these things about Judaism. First off, 99% of what he said was Talmudic verses. As a Noahide, I don't have to subscribe to those at all. And for the Torah, it specifically says that Jews are a light amongst the nations, the goyim, which is it doesn't actually mean non-Jew, it means nations, and it actually calls Jews goy in the Torah, goy gadol. But nonetheless, yeah, I think it's I think when you have a lot of hate, this is what it does to you. You start to have this idea that Jews believe that. Now, are there individual Jews who I'm sure made statements? Absolutely. And guess what? A lot of those ones are actually condemned by Jews worldwide.
Thank you for addressing that. Crystal Jean sends $2. Rich talk, Daniel. You ignore Iran's own massacres. Okay, legitimate the Gaon sends $10. When you hear the abject stupidity of what Muslims say, it's no surprise they always try to babble about the greatness of the Umayyad Caliphate. I wish Daniel was here to address that. It's tough because you know it's just like talking to a wall here. Note Helicopter. I still don't know how to say your name properly. Note Helicopter maybe. Since $10, Daniel must be a Mossad agent. This is a false flag. Explains why Nick is cooking Daniel like an egg dropped in a bonfire. Unicorn Black sends $2. Thank you for your support, sir. Daniel is crashing out the Iran First Man. Zealot Bruh 12 said for $9.99. Daniel, we are now dumber listening to you talk. I award you no points. Hashtag doggy pull cart. Tell me if you can hear this on your end. I don't know if you could. Hold, please. Got the Cisco music low in the background. Okay. Did Legitimate Gaon sends $5 more support here. Thank you. Nick, how are you able to not bring out the screaming goat during this Islamo babble?
Sorry.
You're over too far to the right. No one can see what you were just showing there. Is it YouTube
Wait,
appropriate?
why is my camera moving?
Do you have like
it's just a goat.
AI zoom on?
I don't think I do.
There it is. It's centered on you now.
Yeah. That's the screaming goat.
Fair enough. Okay. It might just be on zoom, like when you move around, it tries to do face tracking. I think I turned that off, but I'm not sure. If I move, does it do it? No,
I'll look
doesn't do it.
Maybe there's something I did.
Okay. Dr. Do Nothing sends $14.99. Did bro really try to make a case for comparing so-called economic terrorism to real terrorism? You gave the W to Nick.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
I think a lot of these comments are going to be a little bit more towards you, since I tried to say a lot of his while he was on the way out.
Fine, if you want to just like kind of read them quickly, and I'll just tell you like, hey, let me say something real quick.
Yeah,
if I
sure.
To help you out.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity either way, but that's a good plan. All right, the Lion 7017 sends $5. Thank you. Says all we need to know about the hadith is Aisha speaking about how she was with your prophet, not how many verses there are. Pol sends 30 shekels. Daniel asking about Rakat on Sahih's hadiths. Nick read hadiths doesn't mean he studied theology. Many hadiths are short stories, like hell people will get up, chain their ass to stretch all over the world. Okay.
Real quick, somebody texting me something. I don't hear it, but they're saying the music is too loud.
Too loud. Thank you. That's why I was asking if you heard it or not.
I don't hear anything.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes that auto plays on there. But I just wanted to make sure it was not turned up all the way. Too loud. Okay, thank you, no helicopter. Yeah, that's what I was asking. Goat triggered. Music is annoying. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna get through these. We don't have, I think, that many left here. Question for Daniel: what is the proper burial? Oh, we did that one. Host, you are clearly a biased person, and you should not host. You are poor terrorist. I don't know what that means. Poor terrorist. I try to be as fair as possible.
You're a terrorist and you're poor. You just don't have money and you're a terrorist, dude.
Well, the claim earlier was that MDD is Zionist, so I should have more shekels than I do if that was the case.
I didn't even know MDD was Zionist. I've never heard
we're not.
that.
We're
Okay.
not. I
think it was just he was a little upset that maybe the comments weren't going his way. I don't know.
There's a ton of pro comments for him in there. In the chat, not the super chats. Daniel, nuclear Iran is a threat to America and all. You would agree with that. Yeshua's King 911 since 2. Daniel would smoke you in this debate as well. I don't know what that was referencing. Thank you for your support. Hot Libertarian since $5. Most Americans don't want Islam in America, Daniel. You should go live in Iran since you hate America so much. JB Selko since 2. Why is Daniel leaving out the Somali Muslims? NYCC 3458 since 10. Thank you so much, sir. How would USA win versus Iran if ground invasion is out of the picture? Them bringing air carrier is not safe at all. You mentioned Karg Island. Are you sure about that? Experts say that's also mission impossible.
Getting Karg Island is mission impossible?
Oh, shit. I thought I stopped that completely. All right. Sorry about that, chat. You're good. Yeah, Karg Islands, they're saying that's mission impossible. So how would they win Iran versus USA if ground invasion is out of the picture?
I don't know what I find it funny when people say experts say, like I don't know what that means. I agreed actually to Daniel's earlier point in the debate when he said like the geography of the area of Iran is pretty that's hard to navigate, but we're talking about Karg Island. I really don't know what that comment's saying, so I'd have to look into what experts he's talking about or she's talking about. Yep. Yeah. I'm sure we're fine. Let me try to find these experts. Bro, you're muted.
Well, luckily I didn't read any other than the one which we had already kind of went over. So that the one that I was just about to read before you reminded me. See, I don't trust the audio trolls anymore. They're like, oh, the music's too loud. Oh, you're muted. And I'm like, okay, now they're trolling me because the music was too loud. I get it. All right. Rampage 1919 says, you're okay with platforming a guy that's totally fine with the diddling of kids? I mean, that's not why he's platformed. Like, if that's his position, that is not why we platform him. We platform him.
I'm gonna give, I'll give Daniel some kudos here. There's been people, modern day debates has been very helpful in trying to find me debates, but there's been also other people who kind of run debate channels that modern day debates like works with, and a lot of people have run away from me who have said yes and then they back out the last second, sometimes literally the day of, or people that just say no and they find out it's me. And so Daniel showed up. Obviously, I don't agree with a lot of the things he said, but he showed up. So, you know, thank you to Modern Day Debates and thank you to Daniel, regardless if I disagree with 99% of his moral values or moral values.
No, I'm not saying that you guys were trolling about the music being loud, just the mic muting. I appreciate the feedback. And I apologize that turned on. Okay, but yeah, we don't platform him for that reason. We platform him because of his ideology being willing to go against other people's, and that shouldn't exist in an echo chamber on any side. So, you know, you got to be willing to engage, especially if it is something extreme like you're claiming. I mean, you'd want that to be engaged with, not ignored completely. But yeah, that's not, I think, what he really advocates for on this channel necessarily. JB Selko for 5 says, Daniel proving how far Harvard has fallen. I would like to set up that physics debate. That'd be a good one.
You'll have 5 viewers.
Yeah. All right, that Daniel guy can't say anything good about his religion or answer without fake whataboutisms. From Lioness for 15 shucks. The Ducks fan for 5. Someone needs to check Daniel's web history and his SSD on his computer. Disobey 65615 since 5. We do not needed to marry that young anymore. We have evolved from that need of that. There is no just to marry a 6-year-old girl. That was very difficult to read. David Desi sends 6990 shekels. If Allah said that everything that Muhammad says is a revelation and Muhammad inserted satanic verses in the Quran, ain't Allah Satan? I'm not sure if
my guess, I mean, I can't speak for Daniel, but my guess is Daniel will probably say that that part has been corrupted, but you know, you'd have to ask him. I assume he obviously doesn't think that Allah induced these whatever satanic verses that Daniel was talking about.
There's some people in the chat saying they'd watch that physics debate. Just FYI. Tyler Parks, Daniel had to go. That's what happened. So just trying to do you guys a solid and still read all of the comments. I know some of them obviously aren't going to get addressed, but you paid, so I'm trying to help you guys out. No refunds. All right. We read almost all the 2 and 5s, I think. Oh, no, here's another one. OJ Naft A8668. Since 2, all caps, Professor Dave versus God Logic on Creationist. I'm guessing that's a suggestion.
God Logic's great. I'd watch that.
They're saying the host is muted. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna time you out for 5 minutes. All right. Chediki since 5 says, has Daniel proudly stated his support for child marriage and cousin marriage again yet? I don't know when you came into the debate. Narco Wick since 5. Sorry guys, but Daniel is not from Texas, or does he represent us? Christ is king, and above Allah, Iran is a proxy, and clearly Daniel supports it. I'm from Texas. I didn't know he was from Texas. David Desi sends 35, says, I've never even seen Daniel win a debate. Can Daniel tell us why Hamas killed Muslims knowing they were Muslims just because they Israeli? Is it okay in Islam? Let me see if I can find you one real quick. Keep you engaged. E. Baltimore sends 5, says, once again, Nick kicked a asterisk in a debate.
Thank you.
Descent RZXT sent 5, says, Nick, who had the youngest victim, Jeffrey Epstein or the Prophet Muhammad?
The Prophet Muhammad would. The Jeffrey Epstein's, I think, youngest victim was still, I want to say, 9 years older, give or take, than Aisha.
All right. Coach Sahibi sends $6, says, or $7. The last 3 Middle East wars created more instability, more violence, and more refugees. What's the theory that Iran is different? I think that's you.
Yeah, I would say that, sorry, I'm trying to go through the settings to turn off this weird movement. I think I figured it out. I think it's this auto framing button. It says off. Anyways, yeah, listen, I think what I would say is that I don't have a desire to, as I said in the debate, I don't know if you just joined, to fight this war exactly the same way as we did in Iraq. I'm not even saying that they did that on purpose in Iraq necessarily, like fight a specific way. It's just it was different technology. The drone program or airstrikes, capabilities, a lot of stuff is completely different than warfare from even just 20 years ago. Doesn't sound like that long ago, but seriously, military technology has advanced a lot. So yes, there will be some crises, there will be casualties, but I don't think it would be at the same level of what we would see in Iraq because we're fighting a completely different style of warfare. And that being said, it's not in my interest for Islamist countries when there's refugees. I don't give a shit if it's quote unquote our fault or their fault or Syria's fault or Russia's fault in Syria or whatever. They should stop coming to Western countries. It doesn't make much sense that if you're a refugee from, let's say, Syria, for example, that you can't just go to a country that is not going through that. That's much closer. I don't know why you have to come to the other side of the world. It just doesn't really make any sense. I get you have to leave your country. Totally get that. But luckily the Supreme Court just came out and actually is starting to favor President Trump's idea of removing this temporary protection status for Syrians, which is funny. It's called temporary, yet somehow they doesn't feel so temporary. So I hope we're able to remove that and these people can go back to the country. Assad fell, and hopefully they can go back.
Thanks for the thoughtful answer. AP the Revenant sent another 5, all caps, yelling at Daniel. Because you keep bringing up the Jews. It wasn't about the Jews, Daniel. Argue the point. Stop bringing up the Jews, idiot. And then another 5 immediately from AP the Revenant. The only time Daniel's answers truthfully is pertaining to children and adult activities. Mixed by Colt sent 2. Daniel, do you think Aisha was aged? Okay, let me try to find some more for Nick. Oh, okay. One just came in right now. From BR Harley, since 15 shekels. That one might be a troll because this doesn't seem exactly like the question would have come from that area. Why does conversion to Judaism give you a right to a piece of land?
Yeah, just like every other tribe in history, like all of history, when it comes to indigenous tribes as a whole, big or small, they get to determine what that means. For example, the Druze people, not Jews, Druze, they're very closed off. There was some Europeans, actually, when you go back to the early European settlers that actually converted into different tribes of indigenous Americans. Some of them, I believe, actually became chiefs of those tribes. They were welcomed in, even though they're, whatever, blood, I guess. It's funny, these pro-Palestinians, they do this thing called blood quantum, which is weird because it has nothing to do with indigeneity. It's also very Nazi-like, which is fitting for them, since they were allies with the Nazis, Hajj Amin al-Husseini. So I think it's a weird this blood quantum ideology. It has nothing to do with indigeneity. If an indigenous tribe feels the need that that's what makes it for, in this case, we're talking about citizenship, then so be it. In Saudi Arabia, if your mom has to be Arab, if you don't know who your dad is, they still have to prove Arab lineage, and you have to also be able to read Arabic. And there's some countries you have to be Muslim. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not even saying that's wrong for them. That's their country. If tomorrow Saudi Arabia wanted to say we're only giving citizenship to people with 6 fingers on their right hand, then that'd be weird, but so be it. So yeah, it's just a weird talking point.
AP the
Also,
Revenant.
just want to real quick,
Yep.
conversion makes up a very, very, very tiny percentage. It's not like Islam where you just say the Shahada, it's some witnesses, and all of a sudden you're a Muslim. Or with Christianity, yeah, most of the time I believe it's baptism. There's a lot of denomination in Christianity, so forgive me if that's not always the case, but I'm a cradle Catholic, and so baptism would be an important thing.
For sure. AP the Revenant sent another $5 right now. Said, Nick, you did great. Mike, I'd recommend having an earbud in and listening to the debate on your phone when you're live. Daniel, change your ideology. I do usually have one right here that I do at the same time. I just wasn't expecting the music to be so loud, so I apologize for that. It doesn't always line up perfectly time wise, so I don't like to get desynchronized mentally, and then it's hard to pay attention to all the stuff that's happening. Because the chat is, when there's like 600 to 1,000 people, there's going to be like a lot of confusion happening in there. And the Jay Dyer one, there was like 35 to 4K, and that one I could not even read it. It was going so fast. They turned the slow chat on. But I don't have control over that. Nick, why, this is from Famo7503, sends $5. Nick, why are there 3 clips of Jews spitting on Christians in Israel? Don't act like you didn't see it. These clips are viral. Anyone can look it up.
Yeah, no, I don't know why you would think I would deny that there are. Did you say 3 clips?
3 clips.
Right. So I've been to Jerusalem multiple times. There's hundreds of thousands of people at any time, especially the areas of Jerusalem we're talking about. Many of them are Christian. Sometimes it's mostly Christian quarter is the biggest one, and then Armenian quarter, which is also Christian, is another quarter. When you combine the two, it's very large. There's a lot of Christians. So if we were to actually see some kind of systematic issue with it, then you wouldn't get 3 clips that keep getting recycled. You would see a clip every single minute of every single day, 24/7, 365 days a year, and yeah, probably more if it was actually a systematic thing. So to answer, do I think spitting on people or even spitting near them on the ground? Yeah, no, that's wrong. I don't really care if you're Jewish, Muslim, atheist, white, black, whatever. I think that's wrong, and so do a lot of Jews. But if our extremism, right, talk has to do with how Jews are extremists to Christians, and the best you have is 3 clips of them spitting on them, well, I'm glad they're not being beheaded like the Muslims do to Christians. So sure, if you want to call that extreme, call it extreme. I guess the Christians, maybe they're glad they're not being beheaded.
All right. Rampage 1919 for 5 says, Daniel likes barbecue chicken pizza with... Oh, I can't finish that comment. That's messed up. Too much for YouTube, bro. Maybe if we had a Rumble. Paul says, the Quran says Mary was impregnated by God's ruck. I don't know what that is. Funkier Mink for 10. Thank you, sir. That's your 3rd super chat. I appreciate it. Every comment you make about my Lord, I rip the Quran.
Whoa.
AP the Revenant, I think. Oh, no, I did read that one. Ross the Goat for 10. Thank you, sir. Islamic Republic death toll has been proven false. H. Rana had 7,000 verified deaths, 7,000 plus verified deaths, a list of many people not even on the Iranian government's list of those killed, plus 11,000 more plus more deaths under investigation.
Yeah, it's accurate. I actually meant to answer that, but I got caught up in talking about other things. But when he said that it's actually only at 3,000, even that's actually been debunked. Yeah, it's definitely I think minimum 30,725, I believe, is the bare minimum. I think it's actually more because, like I said, they literally ran out of body bags. They didn't count any of the people that went straight to the morgue. And when you're slaughtering people in the streets via gunfire, for example, obviously actually most of them would probably die right then and there, and they didn't go to the hospital. They were already dead, so they went to the morgue. This 30,000 doesn't count any of those.
Okay. Ethan Marr sends 30 shekels. At least Israel loves its citizens and builds shelter for them for protection, while Palestinians use their children as human shields, and they didn't build a single bomb shelter.
You know what? Actually, I would say that it's even worse. They did build it because Hamas specifically said that they built these tunnels specifically so they can protect themselves, as in Hamas and their, other groups like the PIJ, PRC, Army of Islam, Mujahideen Brigades, PFLP, DFLP. Palestinians really love terrorism, so there's a lot of groups to name. They did say that that's what the tunnels were for. And it's interesting. They didn't let any of the, at least women and children in. They didn't let any of the civilians in. They admit that it protects them from bombs for the most part, more than not having them. But yeah, it's interesting. They care so much about the Palestinian children and women, but they kept them in the north, forced them to stay there so they can die and add to the death toll so that way they can be like, oh, look at what Israel did, but didn't let them into these bomb shelters. Interesting. I don't know.
All right. Blue Moon 98.2 for $2 says, Nick, will we have Arab in cars today? I don't know.
The joke, it's an inside joke a bit.
Thought
so during my live, I go onto Umingle, and for some reason, when we connect with Arabs, I'd say about 50-50, but sometimes as high as 70% of them will just be in cars on Umingle. A lot of times 3 to 5 men in a car at once. And it's just kind of an inside joke because they're just like, why are they always in cars? It's like really weird.
Got places to be. Holden 138 since 5 says, no way Daniel's citing apocryphal gospels as an authoritative Christian source.
Wanted to point that out, but again, I know we were trying to move past, and Daniel, you say like 2 words, he kind of went on for a very long time, but yeah, they're not source, they're non-canonical. But I get his point. He's saying non-Christians would use them as historical sources, but even within the those gospels that are non-canon, it doesn't actually even say Mary's 12. A lot of scholars actually say maybe 12 to 14, and some say actually closer to 16 years old. I'm not a Christian, so I'll let the Christians defend that or not, but it's just, I think it's a little bit in bad faith.
Yeah, I think the chat is still obsessed with the car Arabs and cars thing. I didn't know how to word that exactly right.
I also want to point out that Peter Schaefer, who he was saying, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Daniel said was a Jew. He's not actually, he's a Catholic. So he was quoting him as first off, I want to point out, even if he was a Jew, that doesn't make someone right just because a Jew says something. But I think he was trying to add to like the credibility, like, oh, he's a Jew. He's not. He's a Catholic, but whatever.
Blue Moon 98.2, another 5. I told you I was gonna read all of them, but don't worry. Million Momos are doing Maziza boys goats in 2026. There are more Muslim kids than Jews. What?
Well, yeah, there's a lot more Muslims than Jews. Only are 16 million worldwide. So true, I think.
Yeah.
Not really sure what he meant.
Mark, not Mark, since 5 says, Daniel looks like Allah is a Zionist. He's helping Israel, but not your Muslim countries. Oh, Daniel, there should be comma right there. Looks like Allah is a Zionist. He's helping Israel, but not your Muslim countries. Punctuation helps, folks. I know you're limited on characters, though. Natelli Copter sends $20 earlier. This is during the nuclear thing. Pivoting to nuclear physics when you're losing on your Jewish star is evil. Approach to America versus Palestine is insanity. That's good emoji usage. Pivoting to nuclear physics when you're losing on your Jews
I
is
think he's talking
evil.
about when Daniel was talking about alpha rays, which he actually got wrong
Oh,
anyways.
Jews is evil is in parentheses altogether, but it breaks on the screen to where I thought they were separate. That makes sense. Boopity boop. Since 5, it's so satisfying watching Nick wipe the floor with this D-bag. How many live debates have you done, Nick?
Like professional ones like this, where it's like kind of with a moderator and stuff, or just like in general?
Both.
I don't know how many in general, thousands.
Okay.
But I mean,
Mostly
I
on
debate
Umingle?
people. No, actually, that's kind of a relatively newer thing. But
That's
I've
a new
done stuff like
website.
on TikTok where people come up, and Omi TV. I've done. I've also done people who have set things up and say they'll come to my platform and do a 1v1, like Gunnar Thordarson. I
Okay.
debated. But yeah, as for like things like this, it's kind of getting relatively newer because after the Sneeko debate, more people like you have reached out. So very grateful for that.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because you had a lot of people aware of you in the chat there. And yeah, I'm not going to ask too many more personal questions like that because it's not an interview. But Yeshua is King 911 sends $2 says Danielle is Nick's wife and not Daniel. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad, Yeshua is King, and my bad, Danielle. And the helicopter sends $2 to tell me the music was too loud. Mixed by Colt sends 5 says Daniel's watching from the chat right now. Well, I hope maybe he can use this as content. Any of the questions that I read he didn't get a chance to answer, he could make a video answering them maybe. Because then, he doesn't have to cut it short because we have to move quick. So he gets to answer what he wants. DM or at Natelicopter with what you want clipped or comments for review video. Jewish Space Laser Corps is proud that our plan to hack Daniel's email in order to put him on the wrong topic succeeded. Thank you, Natelicopter, for 10. Turn the laser down. It was affecting my internet connection. All right. Read, I think, all of Blue Moons who sent super chats complaining I wouldn't read their super chats. AP the Revenant sends 2. I wish I could have read this one. Maybe that would have been a little snarky comeback. Where's my jizya, Daniel? Pay up. You're here. Pay up. E Baltimore sends 2 says it's scary people like Daniel exist. And AP the Revenant was on a spree. This was referencing, I guess, the child grape thing. He said, but it's still, and this is in all caps, mind you, but it's still grape. That was your argument, Daniel. And then another one, Daniel, because your argument about apocryphal texts we can read and take the weakest hadiths as 100% fact. Elijah Kinney for 5. Iran attacked Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Oman. I have literally heard bombs go off while I was OTP with my friend in Kuwait. What you think, Dan? Oh, you guys are still sending super chats. Blue Moon 98. Oh, thank you. Thank you. $2 to say thank you. That's very kind. Okay. We are so close to being done. Appreciate your patience, Nick.
Of course.
Trying to make sure I don't miss any, especially ones that are related to you. Normally, I don't go over on the dialogue time or anything like that so that I have a little more wiggle room when it comes to this, but sometimes on these contentious ones, you can never really know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. Nick, here's your reminder from Famo for 5 that Jeff Epp was a Jew. He literally quotes the Torah, and everyone on his list are Jews and Christians. Trump also on the list.
Yeah, so there's no like lists. I think it just means like in the files. That's true. Trump is to say they're all Jews is ridiculous. He got 3 pieces of the Kaaba cloth sent to him, and he worked with people in Saudi Arabia and a CEO in the UAE. Unless he thinks those are Jews, I'm not really sure. He said that he respected the Prophet Muhammad and he knew and understood a lot. He said that he hated Israel. And he didn't want to go to it. So I mean, there's definitely people that were Israeli. He had ties with the Kremlin, the UK, EU, European governments. It's all in the files, but definitely Arabs as well and Muslims. So I'm not really sure what he means by all Jews.
Got it. AP the Revenant sent $5 in relation to that last one just now. He said, my argument was if they're allowed to use apocryphal text as 100% fact, we could read the weakest hadith at 100% fact. Only logical, right, Nick?
And that's a good point. Yeah. If you're going to use things that Christians don't accept, then you should be able to use weak hadiths, which technically are even more accepted than non-canon, because non-canon is non-canon, whereas weak hadiths are just, well, it's in the name, they're weak.
Now this Jewish space laser ones make sense because I missed this one that led up to it from Natalie Copter. Did the Jewish space laser corps and Eli Copter rig Daniel's emails on the topic? And then they responded with the other one saying it worked. That makes a lot of sense. All right, we are so close. We're so close. Before AP the Revenant, before you go, what version of the Bible do you read?
Well, I'll say all three. So I have my Quran right here, which was the translation by Tarif Khalidi, which is actually a Palestinian man. I did that one on purpose because when people are like, "Wow, who's Tarif Khalidi?" He's Palestinian. As for when I read the Hebrew Bible, I have the Stone Edition Torah, but the Tanakh is the JPS version. And then as for the Christian Bibles, I do have the King James version. The one I have next to me is the New International Version, which is a pretty popular one. But outside on my bookshelf, I have, some ones Catholics use. I also have, the Catechism, which that's not the Bible, but I have that as well. I have the Book of Mormon. I haven't read it yet, but I'm curious. I even have the Jehovah's Witnesses scripture. I don't really know what they call it, but I even have that version.
Awesome. Thank you very much for responding to AP there. Guys, I just want to point out once again that we have some new sponsors for DebateCon 8. And I know Daniel got on to me earlier thinking I didn't do it enthusiastically enough. But they are our sponsor for DebateCon 8. And one of the guys who owns this restaurant is a manager / event coordinator guy for the DebateCon. So real cool guy, Bob, Sideshow Bob. You guys, if you're in Puerto Rico, go check out his restaurant. But I appreciate Daniel saying that. Makes me remember how tired I am after a long debate. And it's always going to be something that you have trouble doing if you can't go to Puerto Rico. So I understand you guys might not make it, but go. And OC Pet Doctor for 2, host, worthless to keep Daniel on topic. You suck. I can't puppet him, bro. Like, I can't tell him the same thing over and over again. That's going to be on his own self-control, not mine.
Facts.
And also, I mean, I really try to be hands-off unless it gets completely derailed. Like,
No,
I'm going to get the same criticism whether I over-involve or under-involve myself.
I think you did great. Yeah, there's times where we're talking over each other, mostly him, but it's fine. It's part of debate. It's not that big a deal. I don't think it got like so crazy that you needed to step in too much.
Yes, I understand I'm the moderator, and I asked several times to bring it back onto topic. Host is pro Daniel for sure. No, I'm just trying to be fair to everybody, you guys. Okay, usually the Lion 7017 for 5 says, usually after the debate before the Q&A, the narrator will say, no more super chats. I get it. I'm just trying to be fair to the guys who sent them when I did not say to stop. AP Revenant, host, not bad, but be stronger or mute them. No, I did eventually mute. I appreciate that. Right, I think we're done. Awesome. No more super chats. Okay, the Lion? You sent $5 to say, people say don't send any more.
Great. Yeah.
All right. These guys in the chat, you're funny. We appreciate everybody. I know there was a lot of people in here that had some contentious views in the chat. I didn't block any of your comments. There's a bot trying to censor everybody if you don't say what it wants you to say. I don't know what that is. But yes, if you're going to dogpile the moderator, Kristen, you got to send bigger super chats or I won't read them. Okay. Nick, thank you very much. You want to shout out your channel real quick?
Yeah, you can just find me on anywhere with the Nick Matau, M as in Mike, ATAU. And yeah, like sometimes it's Nick underscore Matau, I think like on Instagram or maybe X, but if you just type in Nick Matau, you'll find it. And yeah, that was fun. I really liked the the immediate pivot Daniel did in the beginning where he's just like, well, one, he was wrong about how many hadith there were, but two, with this idea that it's just like, oh, how many rakat are there? It's like that's a study of theology, not hadith. And the fact that I was like, I don't know, and I told him Suda is more of a Quran thing, so he like pivoted. I think he was hoping I would say a random number so he can like clip farm, but it's like it ended up backfiring because it ended up proving me right. Because it's like if I say I don't know, because I just thought he was asking some Islamic thing that I was like, I don't actually even know what that is, so I don't want to say anything. I do know rakat is something for prayer, but I'm not like maybe it's for something else as well. So I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. I'll just say I don't know. And then it turned out he was trying to trick me, and it didn't even actually backfired on him and proved me right. But anyways, that was fun. Appreciate it, modern day debate, and looking forward to the next time.
All right, man. You take it easy, Nick. Thank you.
Peace.
Cool. All right, guys, let me just go ahead and just say this one for disobey. He said, why does Daniel believe children are banging? We believe it's taboo for even an 18-year-old to date a 15-year-old. Children engaging in adult activities is abuse. Appreciate your comment. Didn't want to skip it, bro. The Lion 7017 says, Jesus loves you guys. Thank you for another one. Appreciate it. There was definitely some times where I could have shut everybody up and kept them going along quicker. I'll acknowledge it. But sometimes you don't know exactly where the end is. It could be right there. Try to be patient because that could give something to the opponent to use and vice versa. How they conduct themselves in the debate and want, to come and point out like the flaws of the other debater's logic. It's not really up to the moderator. And there's multiple types of debate formats, by the way. So sometimes it's a panel that does the scoring. Sometimes it's the audience. It's kind of more in the realm of this one here is the audience. And this isn't really the type of debate where people are depending on the moderator to ask pointed questions necessarily about the topic of each person. So like I can say, get back on topic, things like that. But I'm not there with a checklist of questions saying like, all right, now describe this specifically or whatever, like they do in some debates. So I don't know exactly what you guys expected. King Ryan, I did tag you and ask what you might recommend early on as an obvious moderator expert. It's not excuses, bro. I'm just hanging and talking with the chat, OCP pet. You sent money to insult me, so who's the real loser here? All right, guys. Y'all take it easy. DebateCon 8 coming up. Get your tickets. You can come insult me in person. Y'all have a wonderful night.